maintain with their motherland. President Ruto told them that Rwanda and Kenya enjoy warm and cordial relations, especially in various fields including education, ICT and agriculture, among other areas. President Ruto said his visit to Rwanda is part of making Africa work together because it is a big market. And members of parliament allied to Kenya Kwanza have rubbished calls by Azimio leader Raila Odinga to frame the anticipated bipartisan talks akin to the Kofi Annan negotiated national accord. A day after Azimio leader Raila Odinga revealed that the opposition has little trust in parliament and is seeking an accord similar to the one negotiated after the post-election violence in 2008, Kenya Kwanza allied MPs led by Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah dismissed Raila's statements as self-seeking.
Unatutisha ati kama hamtanipea nusu mkate, kama hamtaweka national accord, nijue venye nitajiingiza mkono kwa serikali, ati nitaendelea na maandamano. Na tunataka tumwambie Raila, hatuna shida na wewe kuandamana. Andamana kila siku, bora tu unaandamana kwa amani. And that is why we are telling Raila Odinga, your system of looting, your system of anarchy, your system of using bloodshed to blackmail the country will come to an end. And not next year, not after the next elections. This year, that system must come to an end.
At the same time, the MPs claimed that they have drafted a request to the International Criminal Court to be deliberated next week in Parliament, seeking that the Hague-based court opens an investigative file on Raila Odinga, whom they accused of calling masses to the streets to force a coalition government. NCI leaders are calling on Kenyans to give the proposed bipartisan approach to address national issues raised by the opposition a chance, saying that the country needs peace if it was to make development strides. Led by Siaya County woman member of National Assembly, Christine Ombaka, the leaders said they were looking forward to the success of the approach and would support it if it comes up with an agenda that will be beneficial to the nation. Speaking at Nyawara Community Hall in Central Game location after presiding over the disbursement of a bursary from the National Government Affirmative Action Fund, Ombaka called on those who will be tasked with the responsibility of spearheading the process to be patriotic. And 3 people are fighting for their lives in hospital after supporters of Embakasi West Member of Parliament Mark Muriithi Mwenje and his predecessor George Theuri clashed at a swimming pool in Umoja area. 2 of the injured youth are presently receiving treatment at the Mama Lucy Hospital, while the other is at the Metropolitan Hospital. Addressing the press after recording a statement with the police, Mwenje alleged that the rival youth affiliated to Theuri reportedly stormed the swimming pool area where he was clearing structures in preparation for a bursary issuance exercise today. Now, over 60,000 applicants who have been waiting for Kenyan passports will now receive them within 3 weeks. Immigration and Citizen Services PS Professor Julius Bitok said the backlog will be cleared within 21 days after the government received over 100,000 passport blank booklets. Latest records from the Immigration Department reveals that 63,265 passport applications are pending issuance, the bulk of them being the popular 34-page A series. The backlog has been attributed to delays in the supply of booklets and a surge in the demand of passports, especially by Kenyans seeking jobs outside the country and students enrolling in foreign institutions. PS Bitok said the government is in talks with potential investors for the possibility of investing in local manufacturing of passports for faster and comparatively cheaper supplies.
We have received over 100,000 booklets for passports. So from now, the process of issuance of passports will be faster, will be more efficient, and I urge all Kenyans to turn out, those who have not received passports, to come and pick this very important document. I want to tell also Kenyans, I want to thank Kenyans for being patient with us. We are trying to negotiate to see whether we can reduce the price of the passport.
He urged more Kenyans to take advantage of the digitization of government services and apply for passports through the eCitizen online platform. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. Yeah. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you're willing to be milked dry.
Hapo.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
We're getting to the tail end of the week. What does Thursday have in store for us? Not much happening in terms of traffic, but we know what it's going to look like in a short while. It looks good coming off of Thika Superhighway. You'll be in town in no time whatsoever, even if you're coming from Githurai. Okay, on Waiaki Way this morning also looks pretty good. Traffic getting into the city with no hitches whatsoever. It looks good from Gong Road out on Langati Road, also into the city, not causing any problems here whatsoever. Jogo Road is also looking pretty good, flowing free and fair all the way through to Landis out towards the Kamkunji roundabout. All right, so also looking at traffic coming off Mombasa Road, and we're just looking because it's not there, looking for it or looking at it. No traffic there this morning as you're getting out. Still early pickings for traffic this morning, but it looks like we're starting off Thursday off right, and let's keep it just so. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter and keep things moving this morning.
Spice FM, Malindi.
What's that number? 8. I'll be 9 minutes after 6 o'clock this morning. 6:09. 6:09. 6:09. 6:09. On Thursday, April 6th. Yay! How are you doing today? Hope everybody is hunky-dory. The Kenya's biggest conversation starts now. Hope your day was good between yesterday and today. Getting into Thursday, almost the end of week 1 of the 4th month. Quarter 2 is in full swing. Habari yako, Eric Latif.
Habari yangu poa. Mimi sina neno.
Hauna?
Yeah. What does hunky-dory mean? Doesn't sound like it's a good thing.
Hunky-dory is like all is well.
How can that be all is well?
Hunky-dory is fantastic. Like you're riding along, all is well.
What's
you have
the
the wind
of
at your back and the sun in your sights. Everything is great, you know. Hunky-dory is good.
What's the origin of that?
I will find out and tell you in a short while. I'll tell you.
Hunky-dory.
Hunky-dory.
It don't sound like a good thing.
I'm telling you it's a good thing. Why are you stressed?
Wherever it came from. It's not like it was an insult.
So you are a hunky-dory.
Hobbody hoy. Shit, man. Habari yenu kila mtu wewe ukiangalia hunky-dory, wacha nisalimie Raia mjambo.
Wow.
Vijana hoye. Kina mama hii. Yeah, that's how we greet each other nowadays.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Vijana hoye.
Okay.
Kina mama sijui. Vijana ria. Vijana ria.
Was it what?
She was a what? I don't know, man. Don't know. Let me tell you what we'll be discussing today. We'll have several conversations. There is the Africa Children's Summit that will be held somewhere, and we'll be told all about it by two people who will be joining us at 7 a.m. Brian King is a child participation apprentice at Mtoto News. Child participation apprentice at Mtoto News. And then we have child participation and policy advocacy manager at Mtoto News, Daniel Mulati. Those two gentlemen will be joining us at 7 a.m. They'll tell us about the Mtoto News. They'll tell us about the inaugural Africa Children's Summit, when it's going to take place, where, why, and all that. That is at 7 o'clock. At 8, we have a conversation with an MP, the MP for Saboti constituency, Caleb Amisi. He will be joining us. And he has just been saying Azimio cannot agree to be, should not agree to anything that the Ruto administration proposes.
Oh, okay.
So he's here. He's coming to tell us what's the beef. Nini Caleb.
They'll be at the table today. What's the problem?
He's not going to be among those at the table.
He's not going to the table.
Yeah, would you put someone like that at the table? Would you? He's not going to be there. So anyway, he'll come here. We'll give him the table and hear him out. And then at 9 a.m., we want to talk about the quality of lubricants in the country. Now, lubricants, the ones for vehicles. Okay, just to be clear. We're talking about the ones for motor vehicle. Any motor vehicles and heavy machinery, such mechanical lubricants.
Thank you for the clarification.
They are important.
All right.
Do you know we don't produce our own lubricants?
Who?
Why are we having this conversation so early in the morning?
Who? Please be specific.
You produce your own lubricants as Kenyans.
Oh.
Yes, we do.
Oh, well done.
And there are people who actually do that. And then a lot of many of the lubricants that we see are imported. Now, we need to look at the quality of lubricants and if we can actually revive our lubricant industry in the country. One person who is very, very passionate about this and has worked in the oil marketing industry for many years is Mohammed Baraka. Mohammed is the chairman of the Lubricant Task Force of the Petroleum Institute of East Africa, PIEA. Joins us at what time? At 9 a.m. Unasikia?
Yes.
Yeah. Hayo yote ndio tutakayozungumzia siku hii ya leo.
Salimia mwenye anakurusha gazeti.
Mwenye anarusha gazeti?
Yes, please.
Wewe mwenye unarusha gazeti. Habari ya leo?
Ya leo?
Ya
leo ni sawa tu baba.
Iko fiti?
Maridadi kabisa bwana.
Very good. It's Thursday. This is the day when Judas will be buying lunch.
Do you
He'll
know
be loaded.
I read something the other day. They said 30 pieces of silver at that time, Abi.
It's 30 million, Bob.
I'm telling you, man.
Yeah. I guess loaded.
Serious kickback for just saying that's the guy.
Today he's buying lunch.
Has it?
Unajua kuna down payment.
He's buying lunch.
Amepoa leo lunch kila mtu. People will be wondering, hey, what's up?
What's up, Judas?
It's just I just
need some business.
And then he has a brand new phone. Hey, Judas, iPhone 14. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice one. I also have the Samsung Fold.
This too.
No kogeria mani. No kogeria mani.
Today was that day. Today is actually Monday, Thursday.
This is the one, eh? This is that Monday one.
Today is Monday, Thursday. Maundy. Thursday. This is the day that
Judas took the money.
Took the money and Jesus was handed over to the High Court.
Invited people to dinner.
So what does Monday mean?
Maundy.
Yes.
Solemn. It's a solemn Thursday. How do I say? Yeah, solemn Thursday, essentially.
So how do you celebrate this day, if indeed you can celebrate it?
Do you celebrate it? I don't think you celebrate it. I think you remember it.
You look for someone to betray.
You invite people to dinner.
Yes.
Wow. And wash their feet.
So the guy was given a phone and he was told turn on location services, and that was it. We'll just be tracking a phone. Find my iPhone. Wherever you'll be, we'll just find it.
Was told to my pain.
Yeah.
Lakini huyu hakulala. Alienda kujinyonga bana.
Alijinyonga the following morning.
You know the thing is,
Kwanza, after dinner, after he sold off the guy, he went to a pub.
Kila mtu
Pewa.
but folks, was he found hanging or did someone see him actually hanging himself?
He was found hanging.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Now.
So we don't know what happened.
It could be many things.
Many things.
Chap is rich.
Labda kuchota.
Aliyekuwa mchele.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Somebody did the deed.
There were some violent guys in that gang of 12.
Mm-hmm.
They said this guy.
After all, isn't it people who cut off Nani's ear?
So you think after
Yes,
doing the
even
ear?
if we leave the 12 aside, there were other followers as well. If they knew, said,
This
okay,
guy betrayed our Lord.
And plus, this money he's spending, which you've never seen him spending before.
Imagine.
I mean, having that 30 million shillings opened a whole new can of all sorts of things. So, anyway, the end result is he died.
Yeah. He died before Jesus.
And he didn't rise again.
And he did. It's 17 minutes after 6. Live streaming the show on YouTube and Facebook. If you're online, let us know where you're locked in from. Tell us whether it's raining, your neck of the woods, how it's doing. Is it now looking green and nice and lush? Ndu will tell us the weather forecast for the day shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, we're looking at cloudy conditions this morning in Nairobi. Highs of 23 and lows of 15. It's 15 and cloudy in Nakuru. Highs of 24 and lows of 13. We'll see highs of 23 in a partly cloudy Nyeri at 15. And at 13, Eldoret is cloudy. It'll go to highs of 23 and back to lows of 13. It's partly cloudy at 25 in Mombasa. Highs of 31 and we'll see highs of 32 in a cloudy Malindi. It's 19 and cloudy in Kisumu. Highs of 27 and we'll see highs of 28 in a partly cloudy Kakamega. It's 18 and cloudy in Kampala, highs of 25 and lows of 18, and we'll see highs of 30 in a clear Dar es Salaam at 24. It's 9 degrees and clear in Johannesburg. We'll see highs of 23 and we'll see highs of 33 in a clear Lagos at 27. It's mostly clear at 24 in Kinshasa, highs of 33. Let's look out into Beijing. Thursday afternoon is sunny at 13. It'll go to highs of 18 and lows of 5, and it's cloudy conditions in Paris at 8. Highs of 14 and highs of 13 in a cloudy London. Special weather for perhaps rain in New York. It's still Wednesday night and cloudy at 11. Coming into Thursday, we'll see highs of 13 and lows of 9.
It's 20 minutes after 6. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Let us hear who is joining us online.
People. There are people. Oyugis is where Ogosh is this morning, and he says, good morning from Oyugis. Good morning, Eric.
Oyugis, Ogosh. Ogosh is in Oyugis.
Exactly.
All right.
Wise man says, good morning, Eric Latif City Mugat Nduoko. Good morning to you. Eddie Odor, we see you this morning. He says, good morning. I want to wish you 3 nice people a happy Easter holiday. Umesikia nice people.
Tumesikia.
Rainbows and bunnies and all those things to you.
Asante sana.
Sindio? Tiriwa is tuned in kama kawaii. Kawaida. Yeah. Okay. Good morning, trio. Very cold and work must be done. Indeed. Where are you that it's very cold like this? Jane Duta. Good morning, CT Eric and Ndu. Thank you guys. Keep up good work. Happy Easter to you guys. Happy Easter to you too. George Mashuki is tuning from Kasarani. Simon Odhiambo says, good morning. I have a gift for you people. 200 kgs of salt from Magarini.
Hey.
Kwambia.
Hey.
200 kgs of salt.
Eh?
Leave you a little bit more salty.
200 kilos of salt. Weka kobasi kuja bana.
Tuma. Ayucha.
You know, one of those things that doesn't get finished.
Salt. Now, if salt finishes, you just know that you're doing badly.
Yes.
You look around, there's no salt. No.
Chumbi.
Get finished and you've not replaced it. There's a problem. Jumbo. Matthias Owalo is tuned in from the Czech Republic, location of choice. Is that right? Ayucha. Where is Ayucha? That's where Amy is this morning. Robert Mbogo is tuning from Mombasa. Moniz Janeth says, good morning to you guys. Mukuru Kwachenga is where Martin Wafula is. And James is in Mombasa. And he says, we are together. We are. All right. Owen Oduor says, have a good day and enjoy the long weekend.
Oh, it's long weekend. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I just remembered I have a T-shirt with a giraffe wrapped around the neck and it says,
long weekend.
Long weekend. I shall wait. Okay. Kenna says, hi, lady and gentlemen. I'm Kenny from Kisumu. Much love for the show. Keep on. Asante sana.
Is he saying he is Kenny or is he saying wake up? I'm Kenny. Like
from Kisumu. Much love for you guys. Keep up.
Oh, okay.
Meshika. Okay. Now there's people talking about snowflaked mountains and on top. Okay, let's tell you.
Yeah.
Zeresh Muyama says, good evening. You're a representative here in Eagle River, Alaska, where the sun shines twice a month, twice a year.
One of those dudes?
He says, we got a light dusting of snow. Looks like a lovely powdered sugar on top of a cake. Waxing lyrical much. Only problem is the snow from December has not melted.
Where?
Telling you, must not be fun.
Hey, boss, ulienda huko ukatoka hapa.
It's a lady.
Ukaenda huko.
Okay. Umazi. Okay, I'm sure that's not how you say it, but in my language, if it was in my language, I would say umazi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it differently, but I can see you. Just pass through Oyugis, just now. As in now. Okay. Natuma salamu mingi ni kielekea Kisumu City. Okay, Umazi, you're doing the thing. Now, there's another proverb in Luo. I won't even try. Just know that Peter Wagongo anawasalimia CT. How are you? Masiku hizi nwele ya kondo. What are those? Something else, Rombo.
Oh, the one for yesterday.
It's the same one.
It's the one for yesterday. He's explaining.
Oh.
Masiku huzidi nywele za kondoo. I don't know.
Rupin loyo ye Rombo.
Rupin loyo. Rupin loyo.
Rupin meaning kukesha. Inashinda. The hair.
Of a kondo.
A kondo, which is plenty. Yes.
Masiku huzidi nywele za kondoo. Okay. Okay.
Kondoo anakufa, mambo yaendelea, lakini masiku bado
yanasonga
na yanahesabika.
Okay. Ndugu, tupatie proverb ya leo.
Yes. Today is the second last day of the proverbs from a Republic of Congo. Population of that country, vast as it is, just around 5.5 million. Not too many people. Okay, not too many people. A pretty basket does not prevent worries.
A pretty basket does not prevent worries.
Basket of what?
No. The basket here is solo. You're assuming you're looking at a basket filled with something, isn't it? Just start with the basic basket. Yeah. Whatever goes in the basket is a different matter. We're looking at the basket for what it is, and we're saying this basket is pretty.
Pretty.
Yes. The fact that you have a pretty basket before you fill it with anything, it's just that. And Eric, you are right. These proverbs seem to have a constant theme. They are a bit prescriptive.
Kuna vile.
But anyway, a pretty basket really doesn't prevent worries. The basket will remain pretty whether you worry or not.
Okay.
Sindo?
Okay. Headlines.
All right. On the front page of the Standard, Ruto Raila hardliner set to lead talks. Okay. There we go. Donald Trump had a very interesting day yesterday. He was led through the courts and fingerprinted and all sorts of things. And, this thing goes to trial. There's a thing of 35 days, 45 days. We'll look into that story and find out what it could be. EACC Bishop David Oginde has pledged to crush corruption.
Oh, he's got the job.
Well, green light from the president. What else do you
Amesema
need?
I'll crush it.
Come on, crush.
We wish him well.
Okay. So that's what we're looking at in the Standard today. So the Standard also goes ahead and gives, whole 2 pages into what could happen or not happen to President Donald Trump. The Treasury CS now calls for a meeting to resolve the revenue allocation row. Come, let us reason together to see what can be done about this money that's not reaching the counties that should have reached them since. But, let's talk about it. So,
Si hatuna pesa, unaongea nini?
Sindio, hii meeting ya kumeet kusema hatuna pesa.
No, even him, he wants bipartisan.
Sindio. It seems that that's the lay of the land. So, you are in the land, so why not lay it?
Bipartisan, I have not paid you.
I've just come to call. I've called this meeting to tell you that I've not paid you.
Let's discuss how I can pay you.
But even now, as we live here, I'm not going to be paying you. So, sheesh. On the front page of The Nation, Kenya's stadium millionaires. Did you know that there are people who are millionaires from stadia in Kenya?
Yeah.
I'll tell you the story.
Who are they?
I'll tell you. Benjamin Kubai, Marsabit, 295 million.
To do what?
To build the stadium. After the 2017 polls, I'm just going to read the headline here.
Yeah.
A subhead. After the 2017 polls, the Jubilee Party duo of President Kenyatta and DP Ruto unveiled their re-election manifesto, promising to build multi-million shilling world-class stadia across the country in how long?
In 6 months' time.
Thank you very much. The projects commenced soon after they took office, but now, not 6 months, but 6 years later, they remain incomplete after gobbling up taxpayers' money. The Nation went on the trail of the contractors, including one linked to Trade CS Moses Kuria. Trade Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria, Smith and Gold Production Limited won the tender to build Karatu Stadium in Gatundu South in Kiambu County for how much? 259 million Kenya
His company is called Smith and Gold Production.
Yeah, isn't that quite sexy?
And it does stadia.
Play not, lest you be
Smith and Gold, we build stadia.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And anything that requires construction.
We build stadia except in Gatundu. Okay. Benjamin Kubai, Marsabit, was given 295 million. Did not finish the stadium.
Okay.
Mark Mwendo was given 219. It keeps rising as we go east.
219?
99 million to build the stadium in Wote. It has not been finished. Somebody called the WITC president was given 304 million shillings to build the Kipchoge Keino Stadium, Uko, west of Nairobi.
Uko, west of Kipchoge Keino.
It did not happen.
Aye.
KRA board chair Anthony Mwaura's Toddy civil engineering firm won the tender to put up Kirubia Stadium in Chuka. He claims he has done his bit on the project. Mali mefika. Na hii 274 million
imeishia hapo.
Pesa yenu imeisha hapo.
Nataka kuendelea mpatie mtu mwingine kazi ama mniongeze pesa. I mean.
Surely.
I mean.
So,
That's the front page.
That's the front page. Okay, so then there's another thing on this story we were discussing yesterday. Poor sanitation linking illnesses and school student deaths. So they're looking at a poor sanitation issue that needs to be handled. The state got zero in taxes from the telecom deal. Remember that thing I talked about, Helios Telecom, who handed over what, did not pay the money? Well, the state apparently got 0 shillings in that deal. Of this 6.2 billion is the amount of money that the Kenyan government paid.
It's a state that was paying.
Them anyway. So what do they want to get from me? I'm paying, then I still want something.
Yeah.
So umeambiwa, there's nothing there. The state did not get any money. The shareholders never claimed anything. We'll read that story later, but there you go.
Higher. The Business Daily. Uhuru starts receiving his 1.32 million shillings monthly pension. The former president is getting that money and retaining another 655 million for a fully furnished office, limousines and salaries for scores of aides pending his retirement from party politics. Mr. Uhuru has been receiving the 1.32 million shillings monthly pay for December and was paid a lump sum of 39 million according to the treasury documents seen by the Business Daily. He has to formally retire from party politics to access a retirement benefit budget of 655 million shillings for the office, the aides and the motor vehicles. So he's receiving 1.32. Ukitaka ingine 655 itoke. Hii mambo ya Azimio chairman, just resign from being Azimio chairman.
Otherwise, hii pesa.
Yeah, haikuji. 655 ni mingi. Higher, the other headline. The Treasury bought Telcom to avoid spying on NIS and military. The Treasury bought Telcom to avoid spying on the spying agency and the military. So this is what was said by former ICT Cabinet Secretary John Mucheru yesterday, who said the government had initially planned to develop its own national security telecommunication service to secure its communications from potential tapping by third parties via a network owned by investors. The National Security Council approved the purchase of the 60% stake from Helios Partners on the grounds of risk to national security after the fund opted to exit the loss-making entity. So when Helios said they want to exit, that's when the National Security Council sat and said, by the way, see, someone can spy on this. By the way, the time when Helios was the investor, the by the way had not clicked. It's after Helios said they want to exit. Wait a minute. So basically, if we go by the logic that former CS Mucheru is saying here, it's like the government has decided Telcom is going to be a fully owned government entity so that we protect NIS from being spied on.
Telcom was once a fully owned government entity. So we've gone this whole circle of privatization to go back to what we had before, and which had collapsed before. On its own, when it was a monopoly.
This time it's not about monopolization, it's about monopoly of intelligence.
I have bitten my tongue.
Please do. Tell us what's on the front page of the Star.
Green, till, top, right-hand corner.
Right.
Azimio demands justice for slain Maseno University student. That is, as this guy is being buried, they're saying justice must be given. Okay, fine. Headline, bang in the middle, Raila summons team as talks face collapse.
The talks have face collapse, but they've not started.
No.
It's a different talk, this one. No.
Which talk are we talking about?
Remember that day, well, this is dead cutting. The thing that we sometimes do, and when people complain about the media, they are not wrong. If you look at the content that follows this headline, you will really be hard-pressed to find where this particular headline finds traction. Yes, because in a negotiation, somebody says this is what we want to discuss. Somebody has a proposal, someone gives a counter-proposal. As far as I'm concerned, that's what's happened so far. So where is the collapsation taking place? One has said this, the other one has said the other. Karua, Kalonzo, Amalwa, Kioni governors, county assembly leaders gather in Machakos today. Okay, now.
Komanzoni,
that story.
Jalango asiende.
I don't think it's going to go. this story is
Jalango na
coming on before.
Mahanzoni. Maji na stima.
Well, they'll be back and forth.
Yeah.
There's the usual back and forth. The Kenya Kwanza side will have things to say about this, and they'll bring in their arguments and discussions. And then Azimio will have their discussion. And at some point, there are people who will paint this other side blacker than the other. The other ones will paint the other ones darker than black. So it'll be back and forth. So
Kind of already know what's going to happen, eh?
but that's all. The thing is this, these matters, we take the view that this is one discussion. It isn't one discussion. There are very many discussions taking place here. Yes. And they're happening at the same time. Every time I hear somebody who is on either of those sides speaking loudly, the thing that I hear is they're saying, should these people agree, what will my fate be?
Yeah.
What's going to happen to me?
Me. No.
About the conversation, really.
Me. What will happen to me if these people agree? And the thing that seems to bring a problem is if you have a handshake, then things will shake. Okay?
That's for sure.
Yes. And who knows? But
Who
we'll
knows?
discuss it in greater detail.
23-7. Tell us what's happening on the roads.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, where it wasn't half an hour ago, it started to build up in many parts. Jogo Road, well beyond the Makadara train station, is bumper-to-bumper traffic all the way. It's touching in from Outer Ring. Wow, goodness, today's really heavy traffic. Oh, then I realized that tomorrow's a holiday, so folks must be out and about trying to get the last-minute things done before Good Friday sets in. There's not much traffic on the Thika Superhighway, but it's going to build up, as we're seeing, coming in from Zimmerman out then towards the Allsops Junction and then through to the Pangani Underpass. Traffic is already starting to do the thing, and we will see that probably build up later. It doesn't look too bad coming out of Westlands, a little bit here and there on Waiaki Way. The Northern Bypass. The Northern Bypass, some traffic there coming in through towards Kiambu Road, and hey, I found a road that I did not know existed. Boma Road, some traffic there as well, and it's going to connect then at Kirigiti and then come in through towards the Northern Bypass. That's what we're looking at, moving along slowly, but nothing too painful at the moment. Where are you this morning? Are you faring freely? Let us know, and let's see where there might be a little bit of a hold up. Spice FM. KE on Twitter. Let's keep things moving.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So, if it was in 6 months' time, that didn't really happen, and now you have millionaires. It's like magic. So, Jubilee stadiums that never were, and the millionaires that they minted. So, let's go back to June 2017. When then-President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy, Dr. William Ruto, now the president, were at the height of their campaign for a second term in office. The first campaign they went through in order to become president and deputy in 2013 was the promise of laptops. That was what took center stage. In 2017, it was then now stadia in each county. We're going to do like that. And that's what they said. So now when they came into office and things had not been done, then the deputy president, who's famously known for having said, in 6 months' time, in 9 months' time, the stadium here will be what?
Complete.
It will be complete. But the two shook off the rumors during the launch of the Jubilee Party manifesto at the Moi International Sports Stadium in Kasarani, Nairobi, and made massive promises to millions of Kenyans in the sports sector who had suffered neglect by successive regimes. In one of the most exciting moments of the campaign trail, Dr. Ruto presented 9 stadium designs he promised would be completed within months of re-election. After re-election, cracks in the Jubilee government emerged, but ground was broken for construction of several stadia. Mr. Kenyatta and Dr. Ruto won back their seats in a repeat presidential election that made their rivals sit out. But just months into the second term, the fallout rumours and predictions came to pass. But amid their differences, Dr. Ruto went around the country launching construction of the stadia that the Jubilee administration had promised to deliver. The friends turned bros, rather foes, finished their 5-year terms. But just like their political union, construction of the stadia stalled. Dr. Ruto is now in power with a tense and close race against Mr. Odinga. Really? Whom Mr. Kenyatta backed in the August presidential election. Okay, so we're still talking about stadia.
Oh, Jama.
Yeah. Do you
This
see?
story is like taking 17
in and outside.
paragraphs before
At
you go to
the
the story.
end of the story,
Where is the story?
the stadia have not been completed because we're just going back and forth
Because
now.
the story is about the people who are millionaires from this stadium.
Stadium millionaires.
Not bro who, bro this, bro handshake, bro Kenya Kwanza, bro Tangatanga.
Karatu Stadium in Gatundu South, which was given a tender of 259 million shillings in the name of Smith and Gold Productions, which belongs to now CS Moses Kuria, has not been completed. Anthony Mwaura, the KRA board chair, was the beneficial owner, beneficial owner of Toddy Civil Engineering. They were given Kirubia Stadium to complete and at a cost of 274 million. He's the one who said, where we have reached, that's where your money has reached. Beyond that, I'm sorry. The work we were asked to do, we actually did. You call police. Benjamin Kubai Masharia owns Benisa Limited. He's a businessman at the center of several tenders that have caught the attention of investigative agencies. Do with that as you may. He was given the tender to build the Marsabit Stadium. Did that finish? It did not.
All right.
Mark Mwendo was given 299 million shillings to complete the Wote Stadium. I'm looking at the picture of the Wote Stadium. Can I tell you what I see?
Well, it's an open field.
I see grass and trees. Unless stadia have taken on a new...
No. You have to, you have to use your imagination.
I have to use my imagination. It's like Alice in Wonderland.
But
what
let me
do you
ask the
think?
question. Can I ask the
Let me
question?
just tell you 2 more, then you ask.
Okay.
OLX country manager, owner of Funam Construction, David Ndiangui, was supposed to do Camarine Stadium. There are posts. I see posts. Kipchoge Keino Stadium was given to the WIETC president, and he owned Haibo U. They did not finish the stadium. Now, please, CT,
The question is, that was the cost, the budgeted cost of the stadia.
Yes.
Were they actually given this money, or was that just the cost?
They were given the money.
Were they given the money?
Look,
What
like
was
this-
the
They were given the contracts.
They were given the contracts to do. Let me give you an example as to why this might
But you
work.
see, you're paid CT after you deliver. Now, if the stadia were there, and these people are saying, here is a contract, I jengered the stadium, I was not paid, that's a different story.
You see, what I'm wondering is, the headline, if I'm looking at it, because I'm looking at the Nation.
Is that they are millionaires.
Yeah, and I'm questioning that, because you are a millionaire because you've won a tender. No, it doesn't quite work that
Let me give you an example.
Are we saying, CT, that this money was budgeted for in a budget?
Yes.
Contracts were awarded?
Yes.
And not a shilling was paid out?
No, money is always paid.
Okay.
Mobilization, all that.
When a
money
contract is
paid. 500
million shillings, what do you estimate the mobilization to be?
10-20%.
Okay, but in
If
some
they're
cases
generous,
they were given
30%.
In some cases, according to this, they were given 40-50% and did 20% of the work. Some of them had no previous experience in any kind of stadia construction.
No.
Let me
But
tell
you get experience as you
people
build
who
it.
win
go
tenders
along,
in this country,
have
even
zero
for building a
experience,
road,
even for supplying paper.
installing streetlights, have
They don't
never
know.
installed a bulb.
Do you remember Kemsa? Huh?
I understand.
Somebody was walking past Kemsa.
No, somebody prayed.
See?
Yeah.
Are you seeing?
Of celestial nature.
Qualification.
Celestial qualification. I understand. Moving on, but just to that part, it's not 10-20%, brother. 40-50% in some cases they were given, and they only did 20% of the work.
So basically, we are saying nobody received less than 100 million.
Nope.
To mobilize and do the work.
Nope.
Yeah, but surely.
You see, unless we can get a quantity surveyor's report on this matter, perhaps what you see there like that, the grass and trees growing and that bare earth.
It's possible, that's 100
with some
million.
sticks. Yes, it is possible. You do not know what existed before they cleared it. And they made
Maybe they just actually moved an entire mountain.
For me,
they flattened the mountain.
The story at the heart of this saga is that the stadia incomplete. The 40 to 50% was given, and 40 and 50% of the money means
hundreds of millions of shillings.
Precisely.
Another guy who received the least was given 28 million, 28%, which equated to 81 million. Didn't even cut one blade of grass from the outside.
No.
They've been saying till now they're handling it.
Mobilization doesn't mean you cut grass. It means you source equipment. It means you look for personnel. It means you engage people who are going to work on the project. Now, once you've done that to start,
wow. Please give the man a cigar. What is that?
So 80 million shillings is for recruitment.
Yes, exactly. And I'm
talking
saying
to people.
City unaweza fanya kazi. Haya, sawa. Ndu, wewe unaweza endesha tractor. Haya. Eric uko na tractor. Haya. Give me 80 million shillings. I've talked to those people.
Yes, and also, when do you think you can report? How much do you need for bus fare to come to work? Okay? Do you have a place to stay? Okay. How much do you need to stay for a month? Namna hiyo ni mobilization.
Hawajawapea pesa.
No. I'm
and
trying to
if
tell
you
you.
think it is just the preserve of Africans. These people in China also did not finish the one they were given 304 million.
Yeah, that guy he had better not go back to China.
In fact, he was accused of inflating the price. So now he said, now you're accusing me. Wacha tukae basi tuongee hii story.
Simkuja mfanya basi.
You know what I'm saying? Just like the headline in the Star, which is misleading, so is this headline. These people cannot be millionaires.
But CT, if you give somebody 80 million
Excuse
shillings,
me,
you are a millionaire.
CT.
No.
Allah? If I have zero today and you give me 80 million tomorrow, am I not a millionaire?
I can see the pictures. They did something. So it's not as though whatever they were given, they just took it, put it in the bank and sat on it. No. Some work was done.
Hey, me, the one that's making me happy is Wote. Wow.
No, Wote, no, achana Wote, by the way. Wote kuna stadium.
Iko?
Yes.
Complete.
Si hapo.
So their seats. I can see the picture. Their seats.
This is what.
Yeah. Just look further behind their seats.
Imagine.
The point I'm trying to make is this. This story is slanted.
But at least there's something
People were engaged to build stadia. They did not
finish.
complete it. They were given, let's say, even 50% down payment. What they have on the ground, does it represent 50%?
Absolutely no.
Not.
Okay. How do we know this and we don't have a quantity surveyor's report on the same?
Because we have brains, City.
And we have eyes.
When you look at a plain field, you can tell 200 million shillings cannot have done anything here.
I was of that same mindset
until
there was this story of Aurora and Kumorere. When I saw bare earth as God had made it, and 7 billion shillings
had been used to do the bare land.
That reoriented me completely to sums of money, what they're supposed to do, how they are spent, and what it is that they're supposed to achieve. When everything that you've mentioned here, there's nothing that indicates in this picture that some work was not started. Work was started.
Look at this guy. Okay. Please read the next story.
Haya. Professor Jogona Dungu is the Cabinet Secretary for what? the National Treasury. He appeared before the Senate Finance and Budget Committee in Parliament buildings in Nairobi yesterday, and he said the National Treasury, the Parliamentary Budget Office, the Office of the Auditor General, and the Commission on Revenue Allocation need to work together to solve the issue of classification of ordinary revenue as per the Commission on Revenue Allocation Act to end the financial crisis in counties. He told the committee that the National Treasury is caught between dwindling revenues and narrowing borrowing headroom, a situation that has affected several government programs, including disbursement of funds to counties. The proposed allocation of 385 billion shillings to the counties meets the requirement of Article 203 of the Constitution that equitable share to counties should be 15%, blah, 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 blah. The CS explained that the National Treasury is grappling with a high level of debt financing constraints due to limited access to finance in domestic and international markets. Njuguna promised to disburse money owed to the counties for January by the end of next week, after plans to disburse the funds this week hit a snag due to underperforming revenues. Counties are owed in excess of 96 billion shillings for the last 3 months. He agreed and concurred with the senators that conditional grants should be removed from the equitable share equation. Due to the challenges we have been facing in cash flow, the National Treasury is facing challenges in dispatching the equitable share allocation to counties on time. But we believe that the problem will be solved because the economy is getting better. And we have now disbursed fertilizer, people are growing food, we're going to harvest in June, all those things. The economy is getting better. I have not understood what Professor Njuguna Ndung'u is saying.
So because the economy is getting better, that's why they'll find 96 billion to give the counties?
He's saying, first of all, what we need to do is, for us as the National Treasury, the Parliamentary Budget Office, the CRA, the Auditor General, the Controller of Budget, all of us need to sit and plus governors and talk about how we can send money to them.
Instead of just bonyezaing, send the money to them.
Because you see, because now KRA is not collecting enough. So when the money comes and we go to the market, for example, and place bonds, we are floating bonds in the market. People are not taking up these bonds. So we're having problems even raising.
That's why we can't pay counties the money.
So because money is coming in and here we have big problems, counties cannot. We have to pay national government people. We have to buy cars for Prime Cabinet Secretary. We have to run that office. We have to start a new office under it. We have to pay. All these things that have to happen. Now counties, we have having a challenge because
you guys who are supposed to
there are so many competing interests.
Why is it that there clearly is a problem, and clearly the story about there not being money is constantly heard, but what baffles me is every time I hear there's no money, I see money being spent. So I keep asking, what does not having money, what does there being money mean? Okay, because clearly, and then when you ask, for instance, the issue of cars, we are told, but when we got into this administration, there were no cars. The cars that had been there had been taken by people who had been there previously. Is this really true? Did the previous government have people who took off with government cars and that these fellows only found motorbikes and bicycles?
And even
don't you remember who was this who was telling us? You guys, was it Kimani Shongwa?
It was Shongwa.
You people, you don't know. You don't know how many cars drove out of State House. You don't know. You people
not just State House, government.
Yeah, you don't
Apparently,
know.
many vehicles, that's how the story goes.
Time came to an end, people left with the cars.
During the campaigns, cars were used for campaigns, and the cars just simply
they never came back.
Yes. Now, but that's criminal.
And nobody asked questions.
How? A government vehicle? It's
Get
criminal.
No, you people don't know.
What?
I clearly don't know, but when I hear it, I have to ask.
I'm baffled.
You take a government vehicle
and then you go with it. Nobody asks.
And then nothing happens. How is that possible?
And we know, or supposedly, that when a vehicle is leaving government, whatever offices it's signed for, it's at least somebody knows that you're the one who took it.
My friend, you can
change
the number plate.
So when it's supposed to be coming back, nobody's asking you, the car you went with Eric on Thursday of the 4th of whichever month, where is it? Nobody's asking. They just said, see you, amen.
Let's just buy new cars.
Yeah. We don't know what it is.
That car, if they bring it back, you don't know what it has. Maybe make of it just buy a new car. You don't want to put our deputy president in that vehicle that you mali shinda jana.
You know what is in my mind clearly beginning to form a body of narratives that I consider disturbing is that every time an explanation is given for something, it is long, it's convoluted, and you don't understand it. And why it's even more difficult to understand is the genesis, the middle, and the end of the story is that we don't have money. And yet money is being spent. I mean, can someone explain to me how this works? Because counties haven't received money from Siju last year.
Now, you see, the previous thing, you were just talking about the stadium. It's the same principle.
No, stadium, at least people got a deposit.
It's the same principle.
It's
the same principle.
What's the principle?
You pay money for something to cover up whatever it is that you wanted to do originally.
But here you're being told there is no money and money is being spent, and then things aren't. I mean, it's genuinely confusing. It's genuinely confusing. What is it? We don't have dollars, they are dollars. It's people who are holding dollars, but there's still no dollars. What is it?
You, Cora, I say, and I see these stories and I keep repeating, the Minister for Finance for the national government should not be in charge of the National Treasury.
He should just be minister.
He should just be wewe deal na serikali yako kuu huko.
Treasury,
somebody else. Control of budget should be in charge of the National Treasury. Money comes in from wherever it gets in. The control of budget decides who to give money to. Counties receive your money. State agencies, according to the budget, here, take your money. National government, take your money. When there's not sufficient money, she also decides who does not receive their salary at the end of this month. For you, national government, we're not going to pay the people who earn more.
But
PS says you can wait for 6 months.
Like that. It doesn't make sense to me. Essentially, counties, all 47 of them, have not received money from the national government for the last, now going on 4 months.
Yeah.
And we're talking about devolution supposed to happen. We're talking about salary supposed to be paid. We're talking about development projects have to be started or completed or continued, and that's not being done. And we're here with our fingers up our noses and twiddling our thumbs and saying, let's have a meeting to discuss. What are we talking about? What are we meeting about? What?
It goes, this is just the beginning of the Ruto administration. It clearly signals that this administration wants to kill devolution.
Yes.
Period.
The question whether devolution works, devolution can only be mechanized by intent to implement. That is how devolution is mechanized. And the way in which you show your intent is by funding the thing. You don't fund it, it's clear you don't want it to happen. Don't tell us you don't have 96 billion. Get out of here. Stop it. No.
Can we build more stadiums?
No.
Aki.
Sense.
Aki.
You know this story that I have a minute, don't I?
Yep.
Let me just read what people had to say about this matter of the talks. And I'm going to quote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people. Let me start with someone who's been on this show called Odoyo Widi. To run away with negotiations before it has failed means that there was something he expected which has not happened and which he is not telling the public. Aaron Cheriot. Asking for a process similar to the National Accord is a euphemism for Nusumkate. We were warned not to engage Raila as he will say one thing today and change his mind the next. Javas Bigambo, governance expert. Anybody who argues that Raila does not want to be incorporated in government is living a lie, because that is what he wants. It is easy to predict Raila in some circumstances, meaning there are some you can't predict him. All right. Opio Wandai, minority leader. We didn't agree to the nature of this dialogue. Our understanding was that it obviously will be a bipartisan arrangement. It was not specific that bipartisan engagement can only happen through parliament. Okay. David Ochieng, Ugenya MP. It is baffling to see Azimio threatening fire and brimstone should parliament be involved. This is ridiculous and a display of the disdain Azimio leadership has for parliament.
That goes, by the way, very well with the headline in the Standard.
Yeah, doesn't it just?
Ruto Raila hardliners are set to lead talks. There they are.
Anyway. Kabisa.
Time for the news. Good morning, 7 a.m.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto has lauded the critical role played by Kenyans in diaspora in national development. Addressing Kenyans living in Rwanda in Kigali as he wrapped up his two-day state visit to the country, President Ruto urged them to be good ambassadors of Kenya. He said the government attaches great importance to its citizens living abroad and appreciates the close bonds they maintain with their motherland. President Ruto told them that Rwanda and Kenya enjoy warm and cordial relations, especially in various fields including education, ICT, and agriculture, among other areas. President Ruto said his visit to Rwanda is part of making Africa work together because it is a big market.
Much more importantly, beyond what we can raise, what we can do with our taxes, beyond what we can do with money that we borrow, we must also position ourselves so that with the private sector, we can bring in foreign direct investment. That way, we can use private sector money to grow our industries, to position companies that bring value to our country.
Members of Parliament allied to Kenya Kwanza have rubbished calls by Azimio leader Raila Odinga to frame the anticipated bipartisan talks akin to the Kofi Annan negotiated national accord. A day after Azimio leader Raila Odinga revealed that the opposition has little trust in Parliament and is seeking an accord similar to the one negotiated after the post-election violence in 2008, Kenya Kwanza allied MPs led by Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah dismissed Raila's statement as self-seeking.
Unatutisha ati kama hamtanipea nusu mkate, kama hamtaweka national accord, nijue venye nitajiingiza mkono kwa serikali, ati nitaendelea na maandamano. Na tunataka tumwambie Raila, hatuna shida na wewe kuandamana. Andamana kila siku, bora tu unaandamana kwa amani. And that is why we are telling Raila Odinga, your system of looting, your system of anarchy, your system of using bloodshed to blackmail the country will come to an end. And not next year, not after the next elections. This year, that system must come to an end.
Ichung'wah said that he will propose to the Kenya Kwanza PG meeting that they write to the International Criminal Court, requesting that it opens an investigative file on Raila Odinga, whom they accused of calling masses to the streets to force a coalition government.
If you want to create anarchy, we will call it anarchy. And that is why I have said I will propose an agenda to our parliamentary group meeting next week that we write to the ICC to take measures to ensure that Raila Odinga and his sponsors do not slide our country back into anarchy. I shall be proposing that agenda in our PG. If our PG agrees with us, we write to ICC, because it is now very clear that all that Raila Odinga and his team want is to blackmail the country using violence, anarchy, looting, and bloodshed to get into the system of government, which we shall not allow, and we are not ready.
NCI leaders are calling on Kenyans to give the proposed bipartisan approach to address national issues raised by the opposition a chance, saying that the country needs peace if it was to make development strides. Led by Siaya County woman member of National Assembly Christine Ombaka, the leader said they are looking forward to the success of the approach and would support it if it comes up with an agenda that will be beneficial to the nation. Speaking at Nyawara Community Hall in Central Game location after presiding over a disbursement of a bursary from the National Government Affirmative Action Fund, Ombaka called on those who will be tasked with the responsibility of spearheading the process to be patriotic. And 3 people are fighting for their lives in hospital after supporters of Embakasi West Member of Parliament Mark Muriithi Mwenje and his predecessor George Theuri clashed at a swimming pool in Umojawan area. 2 of the injured youth are receiving treatment at the Mama Lucy Hospital, while the other is at the Metropolitan Hospital. Addressing the press after recording a statement with the police, Mwenje alleged that the rival youth affiliated to Theuri reportedly stormed the swimming pool area where he was clearing structures in preparation for the bursary issuance exercise today. And 4 children have been killed and 4 more injured in an axe attack at a daycare center in the southern Brazilian city of Blumenau. Those killed, 3 boys and a girl, were aged between 5 and 7. This is according to local police. Georgina Melo, the governor of the state of Santa Catarina, said that a male suspect has been arrested. A police officer said the suspect, aged 25, is understood to have jumped over a wall into the playground of the Cantinho Bompasto daycare center before attacking the children. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
All right, so we're looking at traffic building up, coming off of Thika Superhighway. Jogga Road started hot and heavy really early, and now is when we're seeing that traffic having built up on the Thika Superhighway coming in from the headquarters at GSU and then out towards the Pangani underpass, moving slowly. The service lanes are working, so there's an option to use them slow. It's moving, but it's moving. So, you know, when we keep it moving, this is good. What else are we looking at? Some traffic coming off of Langata Road. This is coming in from Magadi Road. It'll take you all the way through to the Bomas out, then towards the Raila Odinga Way Junction. All right, a little bit of traffic having built up on James Gishuru onto Wayaki Way. Not too terrible right about now. Limuru Road looks good. If you're going to use it now before it piles up. Spice of MKE on Twitter. Talk to us there. We want to keep things moving this Thursday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Here's my mic. There you go. 7 minutes after 7. Good morning, and how are you doing? Welcome to the second hour of The Situation Room. This Thursday, the 6th day of the 4th month of 2023. It's, what you call it? Monday, Thursday.
You say Monday. Monday. M-A-U-N-D. M-A-U-N-D-Y.
Monday, Thursday.
Meaning?
Solemn.
Solemn. S-O-L-E-M-N.
Very good.
Solomon.
Solemn.
So it's a Monday Solemn. It's a Monday Solemn Thursday. Okay.
A day of reflection.
It's a day of reflection. This is the day when there'll be the Last Supper.
Yes.
And this is the day when Judas received 30 M.
And this is the day that Judas received some 30 million shillings. 30 million.
That's lame.
Lunch.
In this case, dinner.
And then dinner will be bought by Jesus.
Okay, Jesus was the one who...
Yeah, Jesus is sponsoring dinner.
He was the host.
Yeah.
The guests.
Yeah. And then things will happen. We're talking about that story. I looked for that photo. Read that tweet.
Now, there's a young man called Eric Latif, and he tweeted this morning. He said, the Nation Africa headline today is completely misleading by claiming contractors were paid for incomplete stadia. I, for example, was in Wote Town recently, and I toured this brand swanky new stadium in operation. Look at it. Isn't the Wote Stadium world class? Nice picture. Look at it. It's a stadium.
That's a complete stadium.
Yes.
That's it. Ednah, Ibutek, capture that on TV.
Plus, that particular board with all the writing there indicates
This
clearly that the
is
stadium exists.
Development of Wote Stadium in Makueni County at this particular spot. If you look at it, the stadium itself against the backdrop of a nice, lovely sunset.
It was sunset, Abi?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you also told there who the main contractor is and that coronavirus kills.
That one, they've said the truth.
And it started in 2016 to 2017, somewhere around there. But it is complete. Can you see where the spectators
During that period of time, it was
not
complete.
where.
You know, we're in 2023.
Look at that beautiful turf. You see?
Yeah.
Track. If you look at the track, you can see even the steeplechase in it is, plus the water where steeplechase runners. There it is, you can see it.
It's the seats that I find pleasant.
Yeah.
And the canopy above them.
You like
And the VIP stand. Look at the VIP
the
stand.
VIP stand is particularly good.
I see.
But
Beautiful.
Just
This
look
is a
beyond there on
complete
the
stadium.
left, there's a swimming pool.
Yeah, there's also a football pitch.
This is the complete Water Stadium. When people say that stadium were not constructed,
What are they talking
What
about?
are they talking about? After all.
watu ya media wanapenda siasa na fujo.
Sana.
Zote.
The other day, they went and accused some headmistress about certain things that happened.
They went and said that
there were 244 girls in hospitals.
And
They were actually in hospital, but then why did the media have to say it?
Ni mambo mengi tu. Anyway, it's Thursday. It's Justice Thursday when we talk about the social transformation through access to justice in very many ways. Okay, we're joined by two people in the studio. Daniel Mulati is a child participation and policy advocacy manager at Mtoto News, and Brian King is a child participation apprentice at Mtoto News as well. We want to talk about the inaugural Africa Children Summit. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank
You are from Mtoto News.
Yes.
Mtoto for baby.
For baby, yes.
Alrighty.
Mtoto, otherwise known as Toto.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
yes.
that, not
Not that Toto.
Not that Toto.
Toto, basically child. Yeah.
Not baby.
not the Toto city is talking about.
It's child.
Child, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mtoto News.
Yes.
And you're here so that we can talk about the Africa Children Summit. You'll tell us more about it.
Yes.
But to get into the conversation, let's hear the day's proverb.
Yes, a pretty basket does not prevent worries.
A pretty basket does not prevent
Worries.
Right. Brian,
Yes.
this proverb is from the Republic of Congo. Okay? Congo, Brazzaville. Okay? When you hear it, what do you get from it?
A pretty basket does not prevent worries. I guess it's more of I can interpret it as the same proverb as don't judge a book by its cover, because it might be pretty on the outside, but the inside might be a bit different.
That's one interpretation.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. Daniel, it's your turn.
I'm trying to think through it. Forgive me, I'm a perfectionist. So I'm thinking, well, what is the use of a basket? It's to carry something. So when we talk about a pretty or a beautiful basket does not prevent worry, I'm thinking probably, almost related to what Brian has said. It could be beautiful on the outside, but might not be convenient to carry probably a delicate something. It can still drop if you don't handle it careful. That will be what comes to my mind.
So the beauty of the basket doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It has to be fit for purpose.
Okay.
Yes.
City.
Well, I mean, I guess you can also add on all that glitters is not gold. Maybe it's pretty on the outside, as Dan said, but its functionality is pretty useless. It's not useful in any way. It's just there for show.
Okay. Good interpretations.
Excellent interpretations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you guys, what is Mtoto News?
So Mtoto News, we are a child and adolescent focused digital company that basically leverages on technology to build movements and connect children and young people to policymakers and leaders across the globe. We started in Kenya, but right now we have a digital presence in Africa and the globe. And this has been made possible by engaging the various policymakers at the national level. At the national level, we work very closely with the judiciary, the Office of the Chief Justice, NCAJ, and the Department of Directorate of Children's Services. At the regional level, we work with the African Union, the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. At the UN level, we work with the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child. So we connect children with these different bodies so that they can have an intergenerational dialogue around child protection concerns. Like now, because we're here to discuss about access to justice and all that, and the inaugural African Children Summit, at the Kenyan level, for example, we connect children with the Office of the Chief Justice and the various actors in the Justice Act system, so that they can highlight the challenges they have in terms of accessing justice for victims of abuse, probably a child who has been defiled somewhere or married off as before they hit the age of 18. And we have some issues in accessing justice. So we try to provide platforms for children to provide feedback to the judiciary so that they can enhance their systems to enable children access justice. For the Directorate of Children's Services, we also organize town hall meetings between children and leaders in government so that children can also highlight the challenges they are facing, so that when government is making a law or a policy or a decision that directly affects children, they also get to engage children and hear their voices. And a perfect example is last year, government enacted a new Children's Act, and we were part of the process. As Parliament was working on that law, we made sure that children actually went to Parliament to engage the committee and share their views, so that as the act was finalized, it captured the views and opinion of children. So our focus is mainly on child participation, ensuring that children's voices are heard before a decision is made that affects them. Yeah.
That sounds very good.
Yeah.
But then you said you connect children with
Yes.
these offices.
Yes.
How?
So we come up with programs and projects. One of them is now this one, the inaugural Africa Children Summit. This is a platform for children to engage in an intergenerational dialogue with policymakers. When you look at the list of invited policymakers, we have the UN represented by the Vice Chair of the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child, and number 2, the Special Representative of the Secretary General on Violence Against Children, the Secretary General of the United Nations. So he will have his representative here in Kenya, and they're basically going to sit in a room with children from across Africa and share the challenges they face in their various countries around child protection issues. So that's one of the platforms that we create for children to engage with policymakers or connect them. We also have annual town hall meetings with the judiciary, where we gather children, especially from informal settlements, and they sit in a room with the Chief Justice. So that's another one where we just create a platform and bring children and policymakers in one room to have a conversation. But we also do what we call policy briefs. So once we identify an issue, we sit down with children and write down a policy brief and share it with the relevant authorities or government officials. We also write memoranda to different government agencies just to highlight what children are saying with recommendations to the duty bearers.
Daniel,
yes.
You've mentioned very many people, but I have not heard you mentioning how you bring the children.
How we bring the children?
Yeah,
yes.
The UN, this and the other, UN blow, this will be in the room and the children will be in the room.
Yes.
Which children?
Thank you. Now, we have different categories of children that we target. We are very keen on diversity, equity, and inclusivity. And by here, we target different groups. Like we always ensure that we have refugee children. So when we talk of refugee children, we reach out to organizations working in the refugee setups. So we don't work in isolation. We have partners that we work with. When we're organizing a project like the inaugural African Children Summit, we have partners from Dadaab and Kakuma. They facilitate children from those regions to come and attend this our activities. We also work with government agencies, Directorate of Children's Services and NCCS. They have a platform called the Kenya Children Assembly, which we also support. We supported especially during the elections, and we also engage the Kenya Children Assembly. But also we again, through partners, like now for children who are coming from outside Kenya, they're coming in through our partners. So they mobilize from the countries where they operate and facilitate them to come. But as Mtoto News, we also engage children directly through parents. We go to schools. We have journalism clubs in schools that we support. We have child protection clubs in schools that we support. We initiate and establish and support. So we also engage them through schools and through parents. We, as Mtoto News, we have a database of over 5,000 children. So when we have an activity, we identify the relevant ones and reach out to parents, obtain consent. They sign consent forms, and then we facilitate them. If they have to join virtually or physically, we facilitate them to join such activities. So number 1, through schools. Number 2, through partners that we work with. And then number 3, through existing government structures.
Okay.
Yes.
If we take these activities that you've mentioned, and there are many.
Yes.
there is a purpose for which these activities exist.
Yes.
There is a goal that you are seeking to achieve.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
What does this goal look like? And when it is achieved, what will we see?
Okay. So our number one goal, especially for child participation, is to ensure that children's voices are heard and considered in policy making. That children are not just considered as spectators and not, engaged fully, or considered as part of the decisions. So our number one goal is to ensure that children's voices are heard and considered in policy making. But number two, we also try as much as possible, again linked to number one, to amplify their voices. But for this particular event, the inaugural African Children's Summit, our number one goal is to come up with recommendations on child protection concerns as shared by children themselves, because decision makers and duty bearers have a mandate to ensure the safety and well-being of children. Like in Kenya, we have duty bearers who are employed by government, paid by taxpayers to ensure children are safe, protected, and their welfare is well taken care of. But in most cases, they make decisions in silos without engaging children. So our goal is to ensure that we amplify children's voices and that they are heard even in the boardrooms when government and duty bearers are making decisions. And for the African Children's Summit, we are now bringing it to another level. That it's not we are not just focusing on Kenya, but Africa, so that children's voices in Africa are heard in decision making at the national level, different governments, but also at the regional level. So we have goals for the summit, and if you allow me, I can just I know Brian is here. Actually, Brian can also tell us why the African Children's Summit, because he's the initiator.
Before we get there, maybe another question.
Yes.
What are examples of times we have seen that with the deliberate amplification of children's voices, we have seen different results, Brian? That because we have included them in the room, because we have removed them from these silos that we say they currently exist, and have had them lend their voice to a particular conversation, then things have changed. Take child protection, for example, which comes in so many things, whether for their welfare, whether from protection or safety from violence, whether that be sexual or otherwise. How has having them in the room seen to change in policy because they've been part of the conversation?
I guess to answer that question in the best possible way, we have to look at the first instance where that has happened. We go back all the way to the Soweto uprising, where the Day of the African Child actually came from. That's one of the first instances where children were actually involved, and policymakers actually learned to listen to children. Of course, it was sad and terrible how children were killed. For them to actually take initiative and show that these children can actually be listened to. But it's the first instance where I know of that children were involved, and through that we were able to celebrate the Day of the African Child. We get to celebrate different things. We get to meet up and discuss different issues, deliberate on different issues. So that's just one of the first instances. But I mean, you're also asking what instances can be shown, or how can we see that there's actually change happening when we involve children? It's very hard to answer that question because we've not been involving children. So to find good examples of how change has actually happened is really hard because they just isn't that much, okay? But we can also look at people like Greta Thunberg, right? She was a child when she started her work. When people actually started listening to her and what she represented, right? The change that she was actually asking for. We actually started seeing a lot of changes in policy when it comes to climate change. It's just instances like those, because I cannot think of so many, because they just isn't. They just really isn't. When it comes to child protection, I've been lobbying for children to be involved in those discussions. When we're discussing things like OXEA, we just started. So I know during those elections that Dan was talking about, it was sponsored by the Communications Authority of Kenya, and they were looking for ways in which they can make the internet safer for children. Mm-hmm. So just showing you examples of the main consumer of the internet in Kenya, I'd say, is a child. So an example of them consulting children is that one. We're still waiting to see the expected outcome, which is for them to configure how internet is going to be, to configure how parental controls are going to change, what kind of content children can access in the internet. But it's still very slow. But then again, we can also look at Mtoto News International. What has Mtoto News been doing? Mtoto News has been listening to children. If you look at the content we've been posting about children, involving them in discussions like violence against children, health, even reproductive health, we can see positive change in terms of how children perceive these things. Children can actually now they have started talking about being inflicted in violence, sexual abuse, and such things. So a good example I would say is Mtoto News International, the work we're doing, and just how it has improved, how it has changed me personally. I mean, I guess I can be a very good example of this, how involving children has actually changed. I was just a normal average child, going to school, coming back, but then after being involved in Mtoto News discussion, after being trained as a journalist, now I can say I've been fighting for children. I have advocated for children's needs to be heard. I have looked at policy. I've advocated for us to be involved in budgetary allocation process. So I can say that I'm the best example of that.
When did you start being involved with Mtoto News?
Actually, I started when I was still in high school. That is in 2020. Yeah, is it 2019? I think, yes, 2020, early 2020. That's when I was introduced. I was the chairman of the journalism club in Jamhuri High School, but I didn't know about it. I was just there for the funkies and all. But I met a guy in our physics class. Actually, I was doing history, so physics class, we were just going to class to chill. Met a guy called Omar Hamed. And yes, he told me about Mtoto News, and that is how I was introduced.
Did you say you were going to class to chill?
Well, I mean...
No, physics class, not physics.
Class. I was
History was okay. Physics class. That one, yes.
You guys, listen. It was just like, it was that time when you want to like revise, but then it's not happening, so you have to relax and pull yourself together.
Yeah, those moments.
So yes, I met Omar Hamed. He told me about Mtoto News. I totally did not believe that such a thing could exist here in Kenya. I mean, those are white people things, right? Like children getting hurt in Africa. It was just like impossible. So I dared him to like take me there so that I can see it. And yeah, it was there. It was actually there. Got trained as a journalist, and I found my passion was in advocacy. And that's what I'm doing.
Let me ask this question. From what you say, the impression you give is that children are not heard. They exist, there are many numbers, but they are not heard. How do you arrive at this conclusion?
It's not an assumption, really.
I said, how do you arrive at this conclusion?
Yes, okay. I'm arriving at this conclusion, like, let's look at it from my personal opinion, from my personal self. I'm assuming that most of you guys are parents here, including Mr. Daniel. So you have children, and most of the times when you're conducting things, like when you're handling things at home, just like from the basic household level, you don't ask them tunataka kuhama, it's because of this and this. It's because parents. The mentality of parents is that because I'm the one who's earning, I have to make all the decisions. But those decisions don't just affect
So there's no public participation at it. Tunataka tuhame, unaonaje?
It actually, it sounds funny.
Those of a similar opinion say aye.
It sounds funny, but it's supposed to happen. Because you think about it from this level, right? Your whole life is in Kenya, because you can say it's in Kenya. For a child, it's in my home, it's in my estate, that's my whole world.
That's the entire world.
That's me, my whole personality is there, my friend group is there, everyone who knows me is there. And then just one day I wake up and I'm being yanked out of that into something else. Because what? My parents, it might be even like financial matters that you cannot control, but like it matters how you like address these children. Yep. It does. It does. It's very important to like talk to your children and learn that they're not basic. They're not stupid. I like to say they're not stupid. They also have a feel about these things. Sure. Just like you would love to be consulted by your partner, they would also love to be consulted because they are part of the family, aren't they?
They're partners.
Exactly. They are part of the family. I like to consider children partners in the family level, and on a national level. I want to show you guys that we are not consulted at all. I know we have public participation forums. I attended one. I did not know, but luckily I was told about it and I attended one about the budgetary allocation processes. I think a few months back. And I was surprised to see that it was just everyone there was either looking for an opportunity or already had an opportunity. All of them were just looking for businesses, things. They were not ready to listen to children. When I asked the question about how children were involved in the budgetary allocation processes, I was told, the answer I got was very vague. I was told we have a children's assembly in Kenya. And that was the answer. I was not told how they were involved. I was told we simply have one. And I've been in contact with these children, and I know for a fact that even if it's being involved, it's just being told that we have them, and being in a room where they're so intimidated, they just say yes and eat lunch and go home. It's not really, it's the structure of how we consult children in Kenya is not proper at all, because even we ourselves do not believe in it. I mentioned participation and consulting children, and all of you are like, yeah, this kid don't know what he's talking about. You know, it's just...
You really believe that's what we're thinking?
It's just...
Who? Us guys?
Well, I mean...
Really? Surely?
When you're reading the room, and you're like... When I said especially that children should be consulted when moving houses, what's going in your mind?
I actually agree.
This kid don't earn rent.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
Or even changing schools.
She does.
Actually, the question that was in my mind was, at what level do you begin this conversation? You see, and how do you? You have created a forum that is outside the family setup.
Yes.
And the conversations you're having, in my mind, ought to begin within a family setting, if it exists, or in whatever form it exists. But it should also exist at school.
Absolutely.
So the things we're talking about,
Yes.
if it's not introduced in your home setting,
Yes.
you get to learn it in school. So it's something that you consider normal. The reason why it is odd, even in your mind, is because even you find it strange. It's not that, and what you're doing is you're transferring what you find strange to us and think we are finding it strange. Some of us actually consult our children on literally everything that we do.
You do.
Literally.
There are people who are actually detached from the
Literally.
norm, whereby it was that children are to be seen and not heard, right?
Yeah.
And we cannot run away from that, having been a traditional view of what many folks grew up, not because they wanted to, but they were so conditioned that that was the same situation that they went through themselves. You would be caught dead saying a thing in front of your father or mother when they were speaking.
Exactly.
And this is why you find it odd as well. But we're saying that obviously we're coming out of those cocoons, isn't it? And that if we have children as participating stakeholders in conversations that have no choice but to affect them in the future, then we're only going in the right direction. That's what we're saying, essentially.
And we're saying that if it
we are saying
starts-
in all these things, basically what we say is we ask for your opinion and then we give it to you, okay?
Yes.
So we include children in... Let's take a break. Let's take a break. We continue. 27 minutes to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Ndu, new show on Showmax.
Leo Langat, this is interesting. He had children. He was a very wealthy man. And then there was an accident. And then he died. And that's where the story begins. Because everybody now wanted a part of this wealth. People literally wanted to kill each other. And they're saying, Dad is gone. Now, I also want something. And that's where the stories began to unfurl. Sounds interesting, doesn't it?
It does.
It's The Second Family, and it's on Showmax. It's premiering, and you can have an opportunity to get into the intrigues of The Second Family. Showmax.com. Sign up, pay up, sit back, watch, and enjoy.
Back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, we're looking at cloudy conditions, a chance of a sprinkle in Nairobi, currently at 16, going to highs of 23. We'll see highs of 24 in Nakuru, where it's sunny at 14. And at 14, it's sunny in Nyeri, highs of 23, and highs of 23 as well in a sunny Eldoret. Partly sunny conditions in Mombasa at 25 and 26 and mostly cloudy in Malindi. At 19, Kisumu is sunny this morning. We'll see highs of 26 and we'll see highs of 28 in Kakamega, where it's sunny as well at 16. 18 and cloudy in Kampala, highs of 25 and we'll see highs of 31 in a cloudy Dar es Salaam at 24. It's 8 degrees and clear in Johannesburg, highs of 23 and lows of 8. And we'll see highs of 33 in a clear Lagos at 27. It's 23 and clear in Kinshasa, highs of 33 and lows of 23. All right, so a few minutes after 7:30, we're looking at traffic still heavy coming off the Thika Superhighway, moving along slowly as you get towards Pangani. And Kiambu Road is not looking too terrible today. We'll have a bumper-to-bumper situation in some parts, but that is likely to even out. Limu Road is not doing too bad. Coming off of United Nations Avenue from this whole Kitisuru area, we should be all right coming out of there. Out of Westlands also looks pretty good in from Wayakiwe, Lower Kabete Kuna Road onto the Red Hill Link Road coming off of Wayakiwe, James Gisho Road. Really nothing happening here. So no action as such, but we're going to keep an eye on things and see what's happening this Thursday morning. Spice of MKE on Twitter. Let's talk there.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
Conversation
Spice
continues
FM,
at 6
Nairobi.
minutes to 8. We have people from Mtoto News, and you can actually check them out. mtotonews.com. It has two sections, the children's section, the adult section. Very interesting if you just go onto the website and interact and see the content that they post there. Daniel Mulati is a child participation and policy advocacy manager at Mtoto News, and Brian King is a child participation apprentice at the same organization. We're talking about the inaugural Africa Children's Summit, and just before we went to the break, we were talking about why children need to be heard and whether children are being heard. And Daniel, you were about to say something.
Yes, I wanted to say it's actually their right. Children have a right to participate. So it's not a favor we are doing them. It's a right that is bestowed to them by different legal instruments, including the Constitution, the Children Act at the national level, the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child at the regional level, and the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. So what we are doing is basically to facilitate them to enjoy their right to participation. Through creation of the various platforms we have mentioned. And as he rightfully put it...
It is called City.
City, sorry, yeah. Child participation happens at different levels. The very basic is family, at the family level. And what we do, before we engage children, we engage parents as well. And as we continue engaging children, we continuously update parents so that we empower them also to be able to listen to children. Because we all know in Africa, initially, children were there to be seen and not heard. So your parents basically made all the decisions. And it's not that we are trying to incite children against parents, because in most cases people feel like we are empowering children to be activists even at home, so that they question every decision that our parent makes. And to try and clarify that, we also have capacity building sessions with parents and tell them, as we empower a child to engage in conversations with you, as they come home and try to engage you on a decision that you've made, they're not trying to question your decision. They just need to be, they want to participate.
You know, as you're talking, I'm thinking, what we are discussing here is not something un-African. No, what is un-African about it is the way we go about it, because we are saying it's legislated, it's in this charter, it's in this charter, and down your throat, this is a right, and you have to abide by it. In a traditional African setting, the child did have a voice. It's just that the child didn't go to the father and tell him, excuse me, daddy, this one, forget about it.
Yeah.
No.
It's context.
Yes. The child Yes,
Even
there,
to date.
there was a way in which communication was passed along until it got to the person who was supposed to hear it. Yes, it was always there. Yeah. In a typical African setting, there were very many children. Usually, communication would be passed on to the eldest of these children, who would then know who to pass it on to.
The mother and the father.
Believe me, that voice was not as silent. That's a Western concept.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Claiming that the child in an African setting did not have a voice. The child in an African setting had a very clear voice.
Decision making is actually made by very many parents, even to date, with a child in mind.
Yes.
Where you leave is because of the children's going to the children access to school. It's all about, it's a child who is at the center of decision making. It's the children. Where are they going to be able to play? Even for many instances, even the type of car someone buys, you'll hear people looking, okay, can it seat, can it fit the children, can it fit the bikes, those who have bikes and such.
But you just said it correctly.
Right.
You make these decisions with the child in mind. You don't make these decisions with the child.
Actually, you do.
No. Most of the times, all right, I agree. I totally agree that we have family settings where children are actually consulted. Mine is a good example. Mom, I know is listening. In our family, we put everything in the table and we discuss from finances to decisions concerning the family. We put them on the table. So that's an example of a family that consults children, right? But then we have a family. Like she said, she totally agreed with me. Sometimes the child doesn't know anything. And like you said, we make these decisions with the child in mind. The problem is we make these decisions with our own experiences. Not understanding that in this current age, we have different needs. We have totally different lives. Like not only the challenges, but also the trumps are very different. What you want is not what I want. So as you're making these decisions for our good without consulting us,
Let me just explain something here. You cannot take the view that a child is an adult who understands everything the way you do. Okay? Yes. Again, a Western concept is completely misleading. Children are supposed to be brought up. Just a simple fact. Children are supposed to be brought up. Everything we're saying, if children understood everything, this conversation would not be taking place. You want to inculcate a certain understanding in children so that when they grow older, this is something that they have been inculcated into over time and is something they consider normal.
Yes.
Now, with the changing times, it is true. Certain norms may not necessarily bring out the desired results. So you inculcate something new into it so that what we call conversation in the 21st century doesn't go through that hierarchy that it did in a traditional setting. You know why?
Yes.
In traditional setting, everybody was in the same space.
Yes.
Your mother, your grandmother, your uncles, everybody was there.
Yeah.
So everything about communication was different. This one, with this separation, compartmentalization is different. So what you are saying makes sense.
Yes.
But it has to be understood that there are things a child must be taught and must be made to understand even as they grow. Even the brain that you have grows with you, and its capacity to comprehend grows with you. So at a certain age in time, there are certain things you will not tell a child, because the truth is, again, you're right. From experience, you know that is probably not the best time to tell the child what you're saying or to say it in a certain manner.
Yes.
So you present it in a way that the child can understand.
Yes.
Simple facts.
Yes.
But when you have the conversation broadly, it is as though a 1-year-old child, goo, 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 gaga, gaga, do you understand this?
Are you okay with that?
Are you okay with that?
but we take offense. The problem is the term child represents that 1-year-old and also me who's 17. So we have to understand. As much as we're talking about, yes, this 1-year-old might not understand. I will understand when we're talking about finances, all right?
And
to some extent.
To some extent.
And
Yes.
actually, even the legal provisions are
Yes, to
very
some
clear.
extent.
They say children are supposed to be heard, their views are supposed to be heard, but according to their evolving capacities.
Yes.
So the same way you engage a 1-year-old is not the same way you'll definitely engage a 12-year-old.
Or a 17-year-old.
Or a 17-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah, so what we are saying, we're not saying children should make decisions, but they should be involved in decision making.
They should be taught to make decisions.
Yes.
It's something you teach them to
That's
do.
what
Yes,
parenting
yes,
is all about.
Yes.
Yes.
How do you do that, though?
By having conversations with the children. The same way City was explaining, everything that City was explaining.
Yes.
It's understanding the contexts and of the child, from their age, from their circumstance, from everything. And you show them how to make a decision. All right? So just like you said, so you attended, for example, a budget-making process. So if we said that, for the next town hall meeting, because we're making budget, so we shall bring kids from high school and primary school in Nairobi and bring them to City Hall and tell them, tunatengeneza budget. How do you engage them meaningfully? You've got to contextualize it.
Yes.
And see, so how do you actually involve them? How do you have to think children programming and then go and seek their opinion. Okay, what do you people think? What are your opinions? And then now you shall create the program and allocate a budget. You cannot ask primary school kids, is 17 billion shillings enough? Or should we make it 18.5?
But let me just give you an example of what has been happening, with the African Children's Summit, the one that's just happening right now, right? So what we did is we divided the planning committee into two committees, the adults committee led by him and the children committee led by me. And even though they did handle the logistics, the finances, how to get sponsors, how to communicate with the partners, we handled the themes.
The program itself.
The program itself, the meaningful content of that. The background work, you're right, you're very right. I mean, you cannot... The finances, of course, if you involve us, nothing's going to happen, man. But if you involve us in the program, what we want to be engaged. As you said, the framework, the participation framework in Kenya is messed up. There's none, completely none. There's literally no way to engage these children, even if you want.
But we have a children assembly, and you were told.
Yeah, we have it. Then what? Then what? Even having it, it's like having something but not knowing how to use it. Those days when the smartphones were introduced and everyone wanted to get on, but they did not know how to use it.
You think it's that thing in the past? We still have a problem with smartphones even now. So don't talk as though it's a thing of the past.
All right. Well, I finished that. I saw that problem with my grandmom. So I don't know about you, man. But it's that way. That's the thing here. Even if you want it, we have a children's assembly.
Right.
But how functional is it? Does Parliament even acknowledge that we have a leadership forum that they can engage children with? If the president today
when you mention Parliament, those guys have special problems. So don't.
But they do. But the current leadership of the system.
We should swap them. Children's assembly to go there.
Yes.
I think we do the same job.
You think you do the same job?
If we really wanted to listen to children, not demean them, actually understand that they're human beings who are actually capable of understanding things at different levels of comprehension, we would be able to first of all develop a framework. I'm actually working on a framework of my own that I want to roll out soon. But the government would implement such frameworks to make sure that when the budget is read on June. Yeah. At that time, when they're consulting the public, the Kenya Children's Assembly can actually come together. And they can also teach these children how to communicate with other children. I mean, you do not select leaders of a constituency and say that this child is representing a whole county. And the whole county, yes, and then tell them what to do, because the children of the county don't know. We have a representative in Umoja. I don't know the child at all. I've never even seen him. But during meetings and forums,
he's representing you.
They speak on behalf of the children. What children? We don't know you, man.
I hear what you're saying. Listen, Brian. So this is the thing. In most cases, if a case is to be made for something, there is a requirement, said and unsaid, right?
Yeah.
Of an example to be given that it has worked.
Exactly.
Nobody's even asking you to write it down on paper, but that it must be so glaring that people are going to say, wait a minute, it is clear that it is of benefit to us if we include or if we insist that voices of this nature be heard.
Yeah, that's
so. You said it's not possible to give examples of how, because it's never happened. Okay, fine. Give examples of how you have been involved in a particular process and how that has changed you and your nuclear environment.
Go first. My nuclear environment. Wow, okay.
Should I break that down?
Yeah. Okay.
The people around you.
To what?
Yeah, I get that.
Smaller unit, atom.
I completely get that. I mean, yes, we don't have some. The summit is about to be one. But what process have I been involved in?
Yes.
Dan talked about the New Children's Act. How has that changed me as a person? Because I was involved. I first of all, my knowledge on the law, my knowledge on the rights and my responsibilities increased, as well as my parents' responsibilities and what kind of responsibilities they have to me. and what kind of responsibilities I have to them. Now, how has this changed? First of all, I didn't realize it. My mom always did this. I didn't realize this, but I learned that this involving me in this has changed me and is evolving me and at all. And I cannot say that it has changed my family, my nuclear family, so much. But like I can say it has definitely helped me appreciate being involved in these levels. And it has also helped me talk to other parents. I mean, whenever I meet other parents, I can also tell them that, hey, you know, mom does this and this. It doesn't have to be so hard. Whenever we're talking about child participation, we're not saying put everything on the table.
Sure.
Of course, you can't start like immediately. Just do it slowly. Learn to talk to your children and to actually listen to them, not just hear them. You can hear children. You hear a child crying and you react.
Yeah.
But when you're listening to a child, you want to do more than react. You want to understand and you want to help them come with a solution.
Sure.
Yes.
Daniel, what do you? One of the things, and I've seen a comment that there's some folks who feel that you don't want to share so much, or you don't want to involve children so much, because as they say, once you open the door to let something in, you can't control whatever else comes in as well. So there are ills, there are dangers, there are many things that are going on, especially in today's world. So then how do you deliberately involve the younger voice in issues of our world while protecting them from some things which, look, and it's just the truth. We know that physiologically, a child at 17 still has a ways to go in terms of development.
Sure.
Yes.
And that will affect a lot of your thinking later on in life. So how then do you involve children in a lot of these processes while still protecting them from a yet to be fully developed mental capacity? And that's not an insult at all. It's just the truth.
Yes. As I mentioned, the same legal frameworks, the different ones at the national level, regional level, and global level, that bestow upon children the right to participate, also states that it has to be age appropriate or according to their evolving capacities. So when you're engaging or when you're coming up with platforms to engage children, there are also values that guide that. And one of them is to ensure that, number one, it's voluntary. So we are not forcing children to come, but also that it's safe. Especially, number one, is safe and in the best interest of that child. So as you engage them, you have to ensure their safety. Even as we are planning for the African Children's Summit, as we plan for them to come over to Nairobi, we are looking at their safety. The people we are allowing to come and engage children and speak to them. What are the issues they are going to discuss? What are the things they are going to tell these children? Because again, there are so many things happening in the world. And if you allow just every other organization to come and speak to children, they will start introducing things that might not be appropriate for these children. So we also have to vet the individuals that are going to engage children. We have to ensure that the platforms we are providing are safe, including physical safety. When we bring children in a room, is this room safe for them? What are the conversations that are going to happen there? Do we have a government representative who will also just be there to ensure that there's a government voice, but also to take feedback? So for child participation to be meaningful, we have to consider all that: safety, physical safety, emotional safety, so that we don't introduce, as you've rightfully put it, concepts that are probably going to mess up this child.
What kind of concepts would those be, Daniel? Of course, you knew when you went there we were going to walk through there with you. For example,
we walked in with you.
Let me share a very particular example that touches on the National Assembly.
Yeah.
So when we were developing the new act, the Children Act, the new one that was enacted last year, we participated in the process since 2016, and we finally got an act last year. We were part of the process the entire period. We went around all the 47 counties, engaged 3,000 children. We got memoranda written to Parliament. And finally, government called for public participation when they had the final drafts. And they met in Mombasa. And then they invited us. They invited the public. And we took their children, 17 children, to go and engage the members of Parliament. And you know what? One of the child from Kajiado shared the issue they are facing, early marriages. And a member of Parliament said he supports early marriage. And he had his own reasons, and he actually was trying to lecture that child. Why is the child against early marriages? And it's he was trying to say medically or according to health, the earlier a lady gets a child, the better for that child. So that was his line of argument, that if a child gets married early, they will get children without complications and all that. And, we had again to protect the child from an MP, a leader who is supposed to be acting in the best interest of the child. I'm trying to avoid, I know we're trying to leave, I know where
you can see where you took us.
I'm trying to avoid the other one, but I can say even as we're planning for the...
Let me ask you directly, because you're organizing this conference, okay?
Yes.
And their parents were listening and they'd like their children to participate.
Yes.
Okay, so the issue is, let's call it human rights.
Yes.
And the involution of rights as has been defined
Yes.
by various actors in the society.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So, okay, you know what I'm asking.
So let me say this: the content or the thematic areas to be discussed during the summit were determined by children, as he already shared,
right.
And they gave us 7 thematic areas.
Yes.
Violence against children, where we look at harmful cultural practices, sexual abuse, and all that, all forms of violence against children. Number 2 is climate change and how that affects children. Number 3 is child health. Number 4 is education. Number 5 is access to justice. Number 6 is child participation. And number 8, which is number 8, Brad?
7, not number 8.
Number 7.
Number 7.
I think we mentioned all of them.
No, there's the 7th one. And you're the ones who came.
As you remember that,
yes.
What does child health mean? Does it include sexual and reproductive rights?
Yes. It includes that.
To what extent?
It includes, one of our partners is going to engage children around sexual rights and reproductive health, to how accessible are the services to young people, and also look at the aspects of teenage pregnancy and how that affects the children in terms of access to education, because once a child gets pregnant, they're now supposed to take care of this child. So how does that messes up the childhood, the entire childhood of that girl? So we're looking at some accessibility, but also how do we take care of teenage moms and also prevent early marriages and FGM. But we're also looking at access to food and nutrition, not just food, but nutritious food, food and nutrition. During our town hall held last year in June with the Chief Justice at Mbagathi Primary, one of the children collapsed, only for that girl to tell us she had not eaten in 4 days. 4 days. This is Nairobi, in the city. We have a child in Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya, who has no access to food. And she goes to school for 4 days until her system shuts and she collapses in one of our sessions. So we looked at that and we are advocating for the school feeding programs. Children asked for that. Right. So that conversation will also feature during that session on health, because access to food affects the health of a child. They will become... they'll suffer from malnutrition and all that. So again, that component also features in the health. Yes.
Very, very good angle there. When is the conference, as you conclude?
Starts on Monday at Boma Hotel. Again, because of safeguarding, it's not open to everyone. We are waiting, so you have to register before. So that we vet and, allow you to access the facility. It's a children's summit, so we don't want, unfortunately, you are not invited. Unless you are a child.
You represent children interests.
or you can come as a chaperone or, a guardian to your children. Okay. You can register your children and bring them over and get to listen to the conversations. We are having policy makers. From the UN, I mentioned we have 2 officials. From the African Committee of Experts, we have 3 of them. In Kenya, we have the Chief Justice and a host of other government officials that will be there to listen to children. And at the end, we are going to package them into policy recommendations, the resolutions made by children, and so also have an outcome statement that will be shared by relevant bodies at the national, regional, and global level.
Very well articulated. Yes. Julia says, congratulations to the Mtoto advocates for all the work that you're doing. You're on the right track. And yes, very well articulated. Daniel Mulati is a child participation and policy advocacy manager at Mtoto News. And Brian King is a child participation apprentice and advocate. We're talking about the summit that takes place next week, the inaugural Africa Children's Summit from Monday. Have a lovely morning, 8 a.m. Time for the news.
Good morning, this is News. I'm Dennis Asseto. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua urged judiciaries in Africa to adopt environment conservation sentences for petty offenders instead of custodial sentences. Speaking during the closing ceremony of the 3rd Regional Symposium on Greening Judiciaries in Africa held in Nairobi, Gachagua noted that research shows most prisons in African countries hold more than 3 times their capacity, with over half of the detainees being petty offenders. Gachagua stated that such a move would play a critical role in decongesting prisons. As of December 5th, 2022, the national prison population in Kenya stood at 58,887 against a capacity of 34,000. Azimio leader Raila Odinga has filed a formal complaint with the police over alleged attempts on his life during anti-government protest in Nairobi's pipeline area. Through his lawyer Jackson Awele, Odinga claimed that during the procession towards Outer Ring Road, the police disrupted a peaceful demonstration by indiscriminately lobbing tear gas canisters, firing live ammunition and spraying pink dyed water at his convoy, which provoked violent reactions from his supporters. Awele argued that police ought to have provided and or facilitated their safe passage and ensured order as by law required, other than disrupt the protest. And over 60,000 applicants who have been waiting for Kenyan passports will now receive them within 3 weeks. Immigration and Citizen Services PS Professor Julius Bitok said the backlog will be cleared within 21 days after the government received over 100,000 passport blank booklets. Latest records from the Immigration Department reveal that 63,265 passport applications are pending issuance, the bulk of them being the popular 34-page A series. The backlog has been attributed to delays in the supply of booklets and a surge in the demand of passports, especially by Kenyans seeking jobs outside the country and students enrolling in foreign institutions. PS Bitok said the government is in talks with the potential investors for the possibility of investing in local manufacturing of passports for faster and comparatively cheaper supplies.
We have received over 100,000 booklets for passports. So from now, the process of issuance of passports will be faster, will be more efficient, and I urge all Kenyans to turn out, those who have not received passports, to come and pick this very important document. I want to tell also Kenyans, I want to thank Kenyans for being patient with us. We are trying to negotiate to see whether we can reduce the price of the passport.
He urged more Kenyans to take advantage of the digitization of government services and apply for passports through the eCitizen online platform. And officials from the Health Ministry and Education have moved in to help cap the worrying trend of disease outbreaks in school. Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Wafula was in Kakamega County, which has since seen 2 schools shut down indefinitely. The CS, together with education officials led by Education PS Bailey Kipsang, met with Kakamega Governor Fernandez Baraza and the Regional Commissioner Samson Irungu Masharia to receive updates on the health situation in the county.
We have noticed that a total of 108 cases of gastroenteritis, which is a stomach disease, and it has resulted into 2 deaths so far, which have been reported. A majority, 68 of them, were managed as outpatients, with only 40 being admitted.
Our team, led by the Regional Director of Education, will be coming back through a multi-agency team, which will be led by the Regional Commissioner, having all of us as government, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, and many others that the CS will guide us on in a short while.
She said the government will be working with the county government and other agencies, key on the agenda being to provide a joint approach to addressing the health concerns in schools and measures to be taken.
In terms of how to manage their food, but we are also working together with the county governments in terms of inspection of facilities that handle food. Also in terms of testing the food handlers, like the cooks who work in the school, we are working with the county government to ensure that they go through proper testing and they are issued with certificates after being verified that they are okay to handle the food. Like the kitchen area, it wasn't very well done, and we have told the principal that that is within her purview. She has no excuse but to manage the hygiene and sanitation situation there.
The Nairobi County government has rolled out brand new vehicles for enforcement officers, replacing the old clunky dilapidated vehicles. According to City Hall, the new vehicles will be used to patrol and arrest those who break the law. The city enforcement officers have long been affiliated with the ugly, poor designed and uncomfortable cars. The old-fashioned designed cars have white faded paint on the logo quite visible. The windows are guarded with old and rusted wire mesh, but now it is a different story. I'm Dennis Asera. Good morning.
On the Thika Superhighway, there's traffic coming in from the drift all the way through to the city. And we're seeing that as well. Okay, now is when I thought we were doing all right coming off Limuru Road, but I guess she decided, well, I'm going to come out anyway. And there's traffic coming in from Whispers, in from the UN at that avenue, and also then coming in from Lower Kabete. Everybody meets then on Limuru Road coming out into the city. We're also seeing traffic on North Airport Road that continues for some time now. Coming off Mombasa Road, you should be all right getting into the city. You'll be fine there. Traffic hour is where we are right now at a few minutes after 8 o'clock. What's going on in your little world? Let us know on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This is the third hour of The Situation Room this Monday, Thursday. It's called Monday. Monday, Thursday.
Not on Monday,
Yeah?
Thursday.
It's Monday, Thursday.
Yes.
And it's on Monday, Thursday.
No.
Okay, sour. It's a Thursday before Good Friday. Okay. And you can't have any other Monday, Thursday, any day that you feel solemn.
No.
Okay.
Unless it's today.
Okay. Sawa. We continue our conversations, and now we're joined by the MP for Saboti constituency, the Honorable Caleb Amesi, who is here with us in the studio. You know, I went to a primary school, a nursery, and so I call you Caleb.
Caleb.
Those who went to other, they call him Caleb.
Caleb, yes.
Yes, Caleb Amesi.
Is it not Caleb?
Yes, Caleb. I don't know where you went
Caleb, yeah, to primary school.
The primary school he went to. Somewhere in Kajiado.
Yeah, it's Caleb.
No, it's Caleb.
All right.
Correction.
So Caleb Amesi is the Member of Parliament for Saboti constituency. He joins us now. Karibu sana.
Asante, thank you very much.
That's the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm here. In fact, I had decided not to honor TV and radio shows. This is the first time this financial year. And I've started with yours, so it's good.
Why had you made that decision, if I may ask?
I think it's just personal because Kenyans are not listening to each other, so no need to talk. Yeah, we are listening maybe, but we are not understanding each other. Yeah.
Okay. To get into the conversation, listen to C.T. Muga's proverb.
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week, which in our timetable ends tomorrow, have been from the Republic of Congo, otherwise known as Congo Brazzaville.
Yeah.
Okay. A pretty basket does not prevent worries.
A pretty basket does not prevent worries.
No, it doesn't.
Ishmael, what do you understand from this proverb?
A pretty basket. I'm actually writing down.
Does not
Does not
prevent worries.
Yeah, you know, proverbs have different meanings depending on the origin. Now, this Congo Brazzaville, I think if you have the same proverb from elsewhere, maybe the south of Africa, it will have different meaning. So I think the designer of the proverb should be better
placed
to explain the deep meaning, not just the surface, face value, the deep meaning.
But you, when you hear it, what do you get from it?
A proverb is not just from the words and how it is put in a sentence. It must have, you must decipher, digest the meaning from the words. If you want to, interpret it from the words, you'll not get the purpose of the proverbs. Proverbs are not just there. They originate from somewhere, and they're from situations, and from a deep meaning. And that's why they say from Congo. It's not universal. Yeah, so there is a reason why it's from Congo. That's why I say it's not from, Taiwan.
You have to understand the context
exactly
of the people of Congo.
Exactly.
The Wahenga of Congo.
And at what period maybe that proverbs was designed. Yeah, so
it's a nice way of dodging.
It's not good to misinterpret Congolese proverbs.
You have really dodged this question. It's okay. We will give you a pass. From here, you're heading down the road all the way to Machakos County.
Yes.
To Manzoni.
Yeah. I think it's Toniathi.
It's Toniathi. So into Machakos County.
More or less the same direction.
Into where you and the fellow Azimio leaders are meeting.
Yes.
This is legislators, into governors and others.
Yes.
And the principals.
Yes.
And you're meeting to discuss the bipartisan talks and what shape they should take and how you should present yourselves before that. Yes. Was it yesterday? 2 days ago, you tweeted and said, on Thursday, I will lead Azimio in rejecting all Ruto proposals. You cannot trust that man. If he lied to millions desperate hustlers, he would lie to anybody anytime. He has never believed in reforms. To him, the end justifies the means. The big no. What are you saying a big no to, Mheshimiwa?
Yeah, I'm saying a big no to the so-called bipartisan parliamentary process. First of all, Parliament, we are in a Commonwealth jurisdiction. Kenya falls under the Commonwealth, and our Parliament, the working of our Parliament is borrowed heavily from other jurisdictions. We do not operate in a vacuum. We see what happens elsewhere. There's nothing like bipartisan Parliament. Parliament is a room of debate. And is a room of, the majority have their way, minority have their say. Unless you redesign our parliament to look different, that means also you have to look at our constitution. Then we are in another wild goose chase. Okay, the hot air, we were told by the Supreme Court. So the reason why I'm saying this is because you've seen the millions who are on the street Those are the so-called hustlers whom the current president, promised that their life will experience miracles once they get to State House. And they are still on the streets. Nothing tangible whatsoever in terms of making laws, in terms of executive pronouncement that is geared towards hustlers, apart from the hustlers fund, which is still a mirage. It's something that people don't understand how it can, radically change from being a hustler to a rich person or to a dynasty, whatever the case might be. First of all, there is nowhere in this world that somebody has ever attended to the seat of power by promising hustlers or the low class people to, an overnight shift in their social status. Nowhere. So this is going to backfire on him. He thought it is very cheap to go to State House using the poor. And the poor have taken you there. So what next? It is so unfortunate that we don't have laws to hold on to account the promises and the manifestos and the blueprint you see being flooded all over the media during the election time. I wish that it become a criminal offense to give fake promises. For any presidential candidate to come out and give fake promises, it must be a criminal offense.
Why only presidential?
Otherwise, yes.
Why only presidential?
Because that is really where manifestos and the blueprints. I don't think I rarely see MCAs or women rep parading their blueprints in media or on national newspapers of national circulation. It is only the presidential we see printed out manifestos of national importance, because we are talking about the highest seat on the land.
But even you, when you were campaigning in Saboti, you were making promises in the campaign trail.
Fair enough. Let's also get down to even to the MCS. Not a problem. But the point is, we must criminalize fake promises. Okay. Otherwise, as a country, we are, if you look at the US politics, if Obama says that I'm going to work on the healthcare, then he comes with the Obamacare. He makes it his agenda. He makes sure that it passes through the Congress. The next time he goes for election, the Americans hold him to account. And they are judging his second term based on what he achieved in relation to his manifesto. Here, in Kenya, since Kibaki's time, we've had Vision 2030. Then, right now, nobody's talking about Vision 2030 anymore. It was 2030. We are in 2026.
23.
We are in 2023.
7 years to go.
7 years to go, and nobody's talking about Vision 2030 anymore. So what was the purpose of it?
Okay.
Then we had the stadium. I've seen on the newspaper the stadium, the billionaire stadium, stadium billionaires.
Millionaires.
Or millionaires.
Yeah.
We had the stadium proposals by the Jubilee government. What became of it? In the middle of their administration, they came with Big Four. So nobody's talking about Big Four anymore. Then now we are talking about hustler fund, something that is neither here or there, is not understood by anybody. What is it? How do you change a life of somebody by giving peanuts?
Okay. Let's go back to
so in brief, this country is being run down right in our faces.
And is that the reason why? Because, you went from, the bipartisan side of it and said, look, first of all, the way that Parliament is set up, it is not possible to be bipartisan, right? So maybe that's the structure of all of this. But the very spirit of this conversation, is that then hinged on these things that you've spoken about? And to say, look, why are we having a conversation about things for which there's no foundation? Is that what I'm hearing you say? So even going to up the road or having this conversation 7 against 7 or with 7, you're saying that the foundation is not going to work for these conversations.
Yeah, first of all, whatever we are going to do in Stony Athi, I don't think is about selecting members from both sides. We are going to digest what happened, what transpired on Sunday. We are going to get a report from the principals because the whole country is still shocked.
So you did not expect this.
We didn't
okay,
expect.
so what? Okay, let's. Okay, I withdraw my question.
Okay,
and
let us now
substitute another with another.
Put another one.
So do I also
what do you guys,
withdraw my answer?
No,
and
your answer
substitute
is
another?
fine. So what we are saying essentially, Mheshimiwa, is that before you even start going to bipartisan talks, you guys are in shock about what was said on Sunday. You are surprised that this is where you are today.
Yeah, we are shocked because of what the president, the president has taken a joke of what is happening in the country. The reason why you saw millions of Kenyans, the former prime minister just erupts out of nowhere, in the middle of nowhere in Nairobi, and all of a sudden a crowd mills around him. Out of nowhere, just come out of a sunroof and the crowd is there. What is the message? What are these crowds coming on the streets? It's because somebody is carrying their message, and their message was they are hungry. Their message was not that let's go to parliament and solve IBC. IBC is just an agenda of politicians. It is not an agenda of Kenyans. Right now, Kenyans are not in a political mood. Kenyans are hungry. They will listen about IBC later. So for a president to come out with a press conference just to talk about constitution of IBC, that was just a one item of the Azimio demands. And you've made it look like it was the only demand that you are having. In fact, I was expecting that the president will have seen the millions of people on the street and felt something. Maybe consulted and asked his powers around him that what are these people doing on the street? Yeah, even if you want to kill, you can't kill all of them. What are they doing on the street? Ask yourself as a president. What are they on a Monday or a Thursday, a day that they're supposed to be working? What are they doing on the streets? Millions. Okay, that is a question, the fundamental question. Any president must be bothered.
So what
and
should
if
he
you are
have
not
said?
bothered by millions of people on the street on a Monday at 2 p.m. and a Thursday at 2 p.m. all over in the villages, okay, that means they're at home. They're not in town. They're at home doing what? So you are a president of what? An idle Kenyan?
So Mheshimiwa, what should the president have said on Sunday?
The president should have, first of all, internalize that the reason why people are carrying sufrias and, demanding, now they're actually saying, some are throwing ungas and they are making a message that we are hungry, the cost of living is high. They are saying, they are not even saying that Baba Tosha, no.
Okay, so
they are not
what
even
should he have?
demanding that Baba should be there. They are saying that we are hungry. The president must have a halt and stop and a reason why are millions of Kenyans are bleeding, hungry on the street. The question number one the president should have answered is, how is he going to reduce the cost of living? Number one. Then number two, address IBC. Number three, address servers. The reason why Kenyans are ready to die, and most of them are dead, is because they are hungry and they will die anyway out of hunger.
But in calling for the bipartisan talks, is he not saying, let's meet and address all the demands that have been raised by the Azimio side? Because that's what the president said.
The primary responsibility of any government, because he is the president now, whether we contest it or not, somebody is holding that position, and it is him. The primary responsibility is one, to protect the lives of people, which is not, is killing them instead. And secondly, of course, you must look at the living condition of your people you are leading. It is not the responsibility of the opposition or of parliament. So being a president, you don't even need to talk to opposition for you to solve the living condition of your people. You don't need to. And then why are you a president? Just resign. Just say, I'm unable. Meanwhile, I want to talk to the opposition. Meanwhile, I want to resign.
Wow.
What would you do if you were the president to address the cost of living?
I wish you said when I become the president.
Okay, when you become
the president, we hope that people will not be hungry. Okay, because we'll be holding on to this for too long.
Yeah, because I can't.
When you become president, and if people are hungry,
what would you do?
What would you do? Yeah.
Yeah, trust me, people will not be hungry during my reign.
You know, everybody says that.
Not everybody. I'm not everybody. I'm one person. You have invited me as an individual.
What would you do?
First of all, what causes hunger? Okay, why are you today? You've taken breakfast. Why? Unless you've not taken breakfast. I'm assuming from the look of your face, you are very happy, excited. I'm not sure whether you are happy to see me. It's because you've had a nice breakfast. It's because you have a salary, you are earning, there is something in your pocket. The problem of this country is not our politics, is because we are struggling on a small cake that is continuously diminishing. We've never sat down as a nation to look at the economic progress of our country. And that's why I said, once I've said and I repeat, this country does not need a new president or a different president. It needs an economic council to look at the economic capacity of our country. If you ask ourselves, what is our backbone, our economic backbone? It used to be agriculture. Is it anymore? No. Countries have overtaken us. Look at our flowers. You'll find better flowers from Netherlands, Denmark, elsewhere. Look at our tea. It's no longer being talked about in the international market. Look at our coffee. It's no longer being talked about in the national market. I see Kenyans flocking to Dubai. Do they know Dubai 15 years ago was a desert? They're just flocking there. They don't know. Do you know people think it is about oil and all that, but oil is continuously diminishing. They made Dubai attractive to the international flow of money. People are relating Kenya to Singapore. Do they know what is this miracle that made Singapore reach where it is? And until you can never know whether Singapore has an election or not. But Kenya, the whole world knows that our election is 2027. Singapore, do you even know the president of Singapore?
Caleb,
you don't know.
All those things that you're saying.
Let me finish because I'm driving to where you want to go. Okay, let me finish. Is the reason that we've never learned in your local setup. A country is just like you as an individual. If you used to play with a friend in primary and you studied hard, your friend was just busy fighting with his colleagues, looking for girls, and then now you are a doctor. And he's still there, wondering what became of me. We used to be with this person. We used to play together. That's what Kenya is saying, that at some point, Singapore and Kenya were at par. We used to play together. What happened? Singapore has no mineral. It has no oil. It has no natural gas. What is this miracle they did? They just positioned themselves to attract the global flow of income. Okay? So, the journey that Singapore traveled, I see, this is the journey that Kenya needs to travel. Not this continuous politicking that has no end, that is just leaving poor people in the street. We must have a council that look at what is our strength as a nation. Is it our education? Is it the education that is making the world Kenya attractive? We don't have minerals. So what can we sell to the world? Now, once we answer that question, then we come back to the leadership. But we are now fighting on a small cake that nobody is thinking about growing it.
My question is, if it was Caleb Amisi in State House on Sunday afternoon addressing the people, what would you have said?
What would you have told?
First of all, the one thing that you did not hear him addressing is the reason why people are out in the streets carrying sufurias and talking about cost of living. You didn't hear him say that, and he should have started with that. So if it was you, what would you have said that would make people feel, this president gets us?
The first thing you should have done is just remove subsidies.
Remove.
Okay. Not remove, sorry. To introduce subsidies.
Okay.
On, of course, the major consumption items like maize. Secondly, on fuel that is driving our economy. You've seen people crying, even the middle class. They're crying about the high cost of living. That means also they're also affected by the high cost of electricity. The first thing it should have touched, there are three basic needs of a human being. Three. IBC is not one of them. Is housing, food, and the clothing, shelter. Okay? IBC is not one of those basic needs. If you can't, as a government, 50 years down after independence, you can't address three basic needs. That's why people are in the streets crying. We've not reached a point where you've seen in France, people are not crying of food. People are on the street, yes, but they're crying about other things on another level. Okay?
Mheshimiwa, can I ask you a question?
Okay.
We have had individuals come to this studio from the Azimio side as well as the Kenya Kwanza side. And the question we've posed to those who belong to the Azimio side is, yes, you are standing in front of the problems that exist and you're highlighting them, and the demonstration bring them clearer to light. But what solutions are you proposing? Because telling us the problem that we can all see and highlighting it has its purpose, yes. But solution, when you say subsidies, you know, most people don't even understand what a subsidy is. When you say it's a subsidy, what exactly should the government do so that this subsidy can be realized? So you say this is a subsidy. And when you say bring it down to what? Because Kenya Kwanza argue, but the price of maize, unga has gone down. It was 200 and God knows what. It's now 1 something. What are we looking for? Are we looking for the price to be reduced, the cost of it to be reduced, or are we looking for maize meal that is affordable, that people can afford? And this thing which is affordable, how much should it be?
Yeah, do you think that is a question to ask the opposition or the government?
It's a question to ask the opposition. Because the opposition ought to be saying, these guys have failed in this, and what they ought to do is this, and this is how they ought to do it.
Now, the work of opposition is not to direct or give...
Actually, it is.
Okay, let me ask you. You know, when you are in the opposition, does not mean you are condemned there. You also want to go to the government, okay? And if you give all you want to do to the nation, to the government to do, to implement, then how
then
will
you'll
you
have
ever,
nothing to do when you come to
okay? How will you ever even get there? Not even when it comes to government.
So you need to keep
how
some,
will you
keep
ever
some in your
get
pocket.
there? Okay? Ours is to tell the problem. So solve it. It is how you do it is not our problem. The problem is Kenyans are hungry. Government, go ahead. Not to tell you at now Kenyans are hungry. These are solutions for you. No, we want to get you out of the government. Once we get to that government, we will give the solutions ourselves.
Who will put you in government?
And the people.
The people.
And the reason why we are
the people
saying,
will put you in government because you'll demonstrate to them this is how we can do it.
We already did.
Okay.
We've demonstrated.
No, they didn't put you in government when you demonstrated. Let's deal with the facts. You told them what you told them, they didn't put you in government. Now here you are. The ones that they listen to are in government, but they're not addressing the issues, as you say. So the thing would be to say, this is how much better would perform if you give us the opportunity. And I think that's what City is asking. If it's a cost of living, the government is telling us what it's doing. Okay? It's addressing it medium to long term. You are saying it should be an emergency. It should be an immediate issue. What is this immediate issue that you would do?
So
if you said that and the government was still prevaricating, then we'd say, you government, get out, let's put in Caleb Amisi. He has an idea that can feed us tomorrow.
An idea of which we shared during the election. You know, there is no a platform elsewhere that you share except the platform of an election. And the former Prime Minister did highlight his, 10 points on what he wants to do for the country. If you can do the research, you'll find out. It's just a matter of Kenyans comparing which is a better manifesto to this one. Okay? So it's not an everyday that opposition must come to give solutions to the government.
The 10-point Raila Odinga manifesto did not talk about unga subsidy.
Do you have them?
It did not have the unga subsidy.
Do you have them?
We'll go into a break. I'll pull it out.
Yes, just pull out, because he had a clear way. In fact,
it had a left-seater.
Yeah.
It did not have unga ya 100.
Probably the lives of Kenyans could have improved beyond unga ya 100. But the point is, manifestos are not specifically direct to an item. It is the overall being of a nation. How you want to take care of the poor, the health sector, the education sector, the transport sector. So it's a whole thing. You can't just say your unga was 100 and the Kenya Kwanza unga was 200. No, it doesn't go to those specifics.
Okay, let's take a break.
Yeah,
let's take a
but
break.
The good thing is that the manifesto of Raila Odinga is there. Versus compare
the Kenya Kwanza manifesto. Let's take a break. 26 minutes to 9. We're having a conversation with the Honorable Caleb Amisi. He's the MP for Saboti constituency. He's also a member of the Defense and Foreign Relations Committee. Yeah.
And the Vice Chair of Public Investments Committee.
And the Vice Chair of the Public Investments Committee on
Agriculture, Social Service and Administration.
Kwanza hiyo agriculture. Haya. Let's continue this conversation shortly. Mheshimiwa, there's something called Showmax, this entertainment platform.
.com.
There's a new
show. Just
on
premiering
Showmax.
on Showmax. It's about a man called Leo Langat. He gets into an accident. He dies. When he dies, boom, everything erupts. He was very wealthy. He had many businesses, children popping up from different places. That is my father. I'm fighting for wealth. That is when the story hits fever pitch. You want to know what happened?
Yeah, of course.
Get onto showmax.com. Pay, you watch.
And you'll see what happens. We'll be back shortly. Keep it here.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, so we're looking at cloudy conditions, a chance of rain in Nairobi at 16, and in a sunny Nakuru, it's 16 degrees as well. It's 16 and mostly cloudy in Nyeri, and 15 and sunny in Eldoret. Highs of 32 is what we'll see in Mombasa, and highs of 32 in a mostly cloudy Malindi. It's 20 and sunny in Kisumu, and we're looking at sunny conditions at 18 in Kakamega. At 20, Kampala is sunny, rather cloudy. It'll go to highs of 25 and cloudy as well at 25 in Dar es Salaam. It's 10 degrees and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 33 in a mostly clear Lagos at 27. It's sunny at 22 in Kinshasa, highs of 33, and we'll see lows of 21. All right, still some traffic on the Thika Superhighway and a little bit of it coming off of Kiambu Road as well into the CBD from Juja Road and then Outer Ring as well, is where we see some traffic that still continues for most parts of the morning. Coming out of Westlands, we've kept things to a dull roar, not too much of an issue. Southern Bypass looking pretty good. We're looking at from the Cabanas going towards North Airport Road and then onto Outer Ring, some traffic there, and also some coming off of the Eastern Bypass. Just a normal Thursday morning traffic here and there. It's manageable, however. Let's keep talking though and see what happens by the end of traffic hour on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
21 minutes to 9. The conversation continues with the Member of Parliament for Saboti constituency, the Honourable Caleb Amisi. He's here on his way to Machakos County, where he and other Azimio leaders will be meeting today to deliberate on the talks. And Caleb is saying, I am going there to convince my people. Don't listen to what the Kenya Kwanza administration is saying. These people are playing with us. You don't think that Parliament is the right place to have this conversation because Parliament will not deliver results for Kenyans?
Yeah. First of all, Parliament was compromised. We had the highest number of members from Azimio side. Tables changed. We are told money and all other things exchanged hands to a level where now we became minority. We are supposed to be majority. And continuously, members have been swayed and promised goodies. Promised. The word is promised. Whether they'll get or not.
Different story.
The problem is that Parliament has been compromised. Now, in such a scenario where Parliament has been heavily invaded by the executive, it becomes not a central fair arbiter in any bipartisan matter. Secondly, there is no standing order. We operate with standing order and the Constitution. There is no standing order that the President quoted where a bipartisan resolution can be made through Parliament. At the end of the day, everything in this country has rules and regulations. In judiciary, you have what we call jurisprudence and how you determine matters before the court. In Parliament, we follow the standing orders. And whenever you say something in Parliament, even when you recall people from recess, even you call members of Parliament from recess, the Speaker always quotes the standing order. I didn't see the President quoting the standing order under which the bipartisan process will be undertaken.
How are those standing orders created, by the way?
They are created, reviewed by members of Parliament. Over many years, they have been reviewed.
And a majority normally determines whether it is there or not.
No.
How do you determine?
Yeah, the standing orders is of course it has been there for a while. What has gone through is the constant reviews and the change of specific acts.
What I'm asking is, how do you agree on the change of these standing orders?
Does everybody participate?
Everybody participate. Of course, we vote on it. Majority carries the day. Of course, after going through the relevant committees, and then it becomes to the floor of the House. But this is in regard to if you want to change something that's standing order. Okay.
This government has shown us very clearly that even when there's a law that is inconvenient, they will change it.
Yes.
So what stops them from changing standing orders?
Yeah,
because they have a majority.
They can change the standing order now because they have the majority.
Yes.
But already you are not being bipartisan because you'll use the majority of the government. You'll not use the majority of the opposition. So you started the process in non-bipartisan way. So how will now the end be bipartisan?
Much more we're discussing politics. You know, I have found this conversation strange.
Yes.
Coming from the Azimio side.
Yes.
Blaming the government for taking their members. It's you who can't hold on to your members. I mean, surely.
No.
If the members are there and they belong to you and then somebody takes them, clearly you can't hold on to them because if you could, they would stay.
It's just bad manners. You know, if a country, we want to use every loophole in our Constitution or in our Electoral Act to commit mischief, and then and they still say, "Oh, you could not do this." You know, in a parliamentary, presidential system, where we have different parties that makes up parliament, what we call parliamentary parties. We are guarded as a person elected on this particular party or a coalition of parties. That if you don't agree with your party, of people shift parties, then go back to the election. We are not saying we want to hold on to you Okay, if you and your wife, you've had even a child and you still divorce, so what about a member of a coalition or a member of a party? Divorcing from his party is allowed, but we are asking you, go to the other side. These people elected you on an Azimio, believing that you are going to parliament, propagate Azimio agenda. Then you cross the other side. So go back and ask them that I do not believe in Azimio anymore. Then they'll elect you on Kenya Kwanza. As simple as that. It's just good manner. We can celebrate and say, Azimio, you can't hold on to this. Then, but as a country, we are destroying our own democracy. Because we must own up to what we've put as our parameters of operating our democracy.
What you say is true, Mheshimiwa, but I see it. You brought in the analogy of a married couple. The conversation one hears when they part and say the woman goes to another man, ati huyu mwanaume amenyang'anya mtu bibi. Instead of the other conversation could be bibi amewacha huyu mtu akaenda huko. But you don't hear that conversation. The conversation is amenyang'anywa, as though the person who moved didn't have a say in where they're supposed to go.
Okay. Ameenda, ameenda kwa nyumba ingine.
That is the thing, ameenda.
Sasa, huyu mwanaume hajakuja kwa nyumba yangu. Ameenda. Okay? But if that man now comes to your house with your wife inside your house. So that's why I said, go to that house. Seek a fresh mandate and go.
The problem with Parliament.
Don't use our house to do your mischief.
Actually, Parliament,
that is the same thing.
Parliament is polygamous because you are all in that house.
Yes.
All of you.
Yeah.
So even that movement, it's academic because it's not as though somebody has changed parties. They are still in the party they were in, but their affiliation and interest is elsewhere. So again, what we are discussing here is our politics, and it gets the heart of the matter. How we practice our politics, when it favors us and when it doesn't favor us.
You are getting completely wrong. And I think it's good to use this good medium to educate our Kenyans.
Please.
Because we passed what we call an electoral act. And it was so specific.
Yes.
Remember, even the Right Honorable Prime Minister, once upon a time, disagreed with this party. Was it Ford Kenya? He went back to electorate in Kibra. Okay, it was used to be called the Langata constituency. He went back to the electorate. Those were many years ago. Now we've even reformed, we've revised, we expect even things to be better. Now in the 20 years down the line, a person cannot resign. Why are you fearing to resign and go back if you think people believe in where you have gone? It's because of bad manners of politics. You want to use a party and dump it. Now this MP of Nyanza, who was gone from another party, is it PDP or Cheng? That MP could not get elected unless he said Raila for president. As much as he was in another party, why didn't he say Ruto? He'll not be elected. Okay? So this is just bad manners. That you use somebody, you get elected, and then you dump him. That is not what our constitution and the political parties envisaged.
So it seems as though, Mheshimiwa, that there are many issues that are layered here in terms of what the problem really is. But the national conversation at this point is there were protests that were going on, and the president did come out and say on Sunday, look, okay, let's have a conversation about how we can solve this. Okay, so if we do some chronology here. So the major issue that he brought to the table was this constitution of the IEBC and said, okay, guys, come and let us do this together. But again, I'm going to ask you, it seems as though there are very many other issues that he's still taking issue with and are saying, you're going back to tell Azimio people essentially that all of these things have not been considered. We cannot take this conversation as though it is going to soothe everything where there are many other contentious issues that have not been handled. And now here we see another one coming up, that they've taken a lot of our people to the other side and are still coming to our house to have their honeymoon. And we cannot have that happen. So there are very many other issues that are taking center stage here. So suffice to say that the long and short of all of this conversation is that you don't want it to happen.
You don't want bipartisan.
You don't want bipartisan. There are many other conversations that are not happening. So then essentially, what does that mean
Yeah, I think bipartisan, the word is okay. Maybe the medium that they have chosen, which is parliament, is what we think is not.
Okay.
I don't think the Azimio side, and I've listened to the Prime Minister speak, the former Prime Minister, is ready for talks, okay? Only that he has said parliament is not the route. Why? Because parliament is executive controlled. And you cannot have that one as a bipartisan forum of engagement. That has been he has been very consistent on that. And he has given proposals that what happened in 2007 and 2008, we had a similar scenario, and we had a better way of engaging. The reason why we are saying Ruto, and me particularly, those are my words. I don't find Ruto very honest. I've seen his consistency. It's not there the way he can promise people heaven and bring, people down to hell. It has been there, and you've seen people suffering. He thought that he's going to make a difference, and people went on the street. They said dynasty versus the hustlers. And you see people are still suffering. He has ignored them. He has followed another trajectory. 2027, he'll come up with another. You can be a master in some areas, but it's not conducive. It's not good for a nation. You can't play a nation like that, okay? There are people who will praise him that, he's a good politician, he's sharp, he knows how to play politics. But is it good for a nation? You can play those politics in a constituency somewhere. But
is it good for the constituents?
Exactly. But now, even on the higher level, a nation that is so heterogeneous. This is not a homogeneous society. It's heterogeneous, where tribes, ethnicity is rife. Our political competition is based on tribe, where people need to feel the part and parcel of the nation. When you hear people seceding, that we want to secede, that if our numbers don't matter, then let's get our own country, then that it means not the whole country are not feeling that they are part of this nation. The first thing as a nation, when they say the president is the symbol of national unity, that was not a joke. It was not just a mere statement in the constitution. You are supposed to be a symbol of that. Even if I'll give you an example. You don't know Saboti very well. Maybe you are near because you schooled there. Saboti is the most cosmopolitan constituency you can find in the Republic of Kenya. All tribes are there. I come from a minority. I have still been elected twice on a party that is predominantly not a party of that area. People don't look at me as a tribe. They don't look at me as a political party. They look at my potential to unite that constituency. That all tribes are feeling that if it is Caleb, we are okay. That's what a president needs. That even if I didn't vote for him, me as a Luo, I'll feel I'm okay in this country. But if I'm feeling I'm not even, they don't want to be to change their life. They just want a belonging, that we belong to this nation. What did I do? My constituency was porous in terms of a one tribe feeling that they've been left out for many years, perennially. I accommodated them. I choose some of their peoples in my office, and yet they didn't vote for me, so that they feel comfortable. I made sure that most of my development areas projects were directed to that particular area that felt left out. I made sure that most people in the bursary program, they are from that area. What happened in my second election? I won by twice the margin for the last election, because now those people now felt, if this is how this guy is going to lead us, then now let us vote for him. So that's what a president needs to do. Those people didn't believe in you. Don't tell them they are not shareholders of this company. Don't tell them that. Because in that case, they say, okay, we thought we were just expressing ourselves. Now it has come to this end. You made them feel bitter and the pain that, okay, we are just here to give taxes to people as we are less of a human being. The moment you run a country like that, the moment you bring a country to that point, then you can only achieve anarchy in that nation.
Mheshimiwa, I have a question.
Yes.
So you said you are not opposed to bipartisan talks, only that you don't think that Parliament is the best platform.
Yes.
Now, your leadership in Parliament has already said yes to talks. even your leadership at Azimio, the principals have said yes to talks. How would you propose that these talks be structured?
Yeah, in my proposal is that, I don't know, this is mine. I don't know, don't say this is how Azimio has decided.
It is Caleb.
It is Caleb.
You've come back to Caleb. It's Caleb.
You know, I want to bring you to a level where we can...
You're coming to my level.
Comfortable.
Okay. You know, I don't want to leave you behind. Yeah, so in my opinion, I believe that the president needs to look what pains this nation. We are covering it. We are sugarcoating it. But the problem of this nation is that people believe that 2 tribes will forever rule us. And these other tribes are left into oblivion forever. And it is not changing anytime soon. It needs to address that. Uhuru tried to just talk about it. Yeah, but nothing much. He never actualized anything, actions. He just talked about it. He just felt. But the president needs to know that part of this nation is feeling that they'll never, or their sons and daughters will never get an opportunity to be at State House. That is the root cause of our problems. The rest, we are adding, soup, whatever, inside the pudding. But the root cause is that this nation is divided, and it will divided forever.
Okay.
Politically.
Solution.
And he needs to do that. Now, countries have designed ways of surviving. Switzerland, for example. Switzerland had this problem of regional imbalance in terms of national leadership. What Switzerland did, but because of their 7 regions, they decided that let's have 7 ministers. And each one of those ministers become a president for 1 year. So they have a council of 7 ministers. And every year, a minister serves as a president. And they rotate. It's called the rotation of presidents. Now, Switzerland is calm, very stable. They don't even have an army, of themselves. They have nothing to protect. The country is cohesive. Okay, because they decided to attack the root cause of the problem. Every part of Switzerland feels that we are a Switzerland. In this country, we are not Kenya. There's no country called Kenya, for your information. If you are in this town and you are attacked, for example, your tribe, say a Kikuyu is attacked. Another Kikuyu say, "Huyu anachezea Mkikuyu mwenzangu." If it is a Luo, another Luo will say, "Na huyu ni Mluo mwenzangu." If it's a Kamba, Kamba will erupt and say, "Hey, huyu ameshika Mkamba mwenzangu." If a Kenyan is attacked, there's no any Kenyan will come and say, "Huyu ameshika Mkenya mwenzangu." There is nothing like a Kenyan. We must bring a country called Kenya. We don't have a nation.
So what's the route to that?
I said different countries have designed different ways. I gave an example of Switzerland. In my view, it is not enough to rotate because we are 42 tribes. You can't rotate 42 tribes in terms of presidency for 5 years and manage, okay? I think the best is expansion of either the executive, so that different regions have a potential of maybe their son and daughter get in a position somewhere. And say if the Speaker of the National Assembly comes from this region, then the Speaker of the Senate must come from this region. Then the Deputy President must come from this region. Then the President must come from this region. And the Attorney General, the KRA,
we mix them up.
We mix up.
Good ideas.
It must have.
So how do we get them onto the table? If you're not going to take them to Parliament, how do you...
First of all, you must breed that idea before you take to Parliament to process it. That's why I say you don't go in a bipartisan Parliament that is already divided. You can see the way they are talking. Do they look like people who can, reason in Parliament? No. They are coming just stamping that this is our government. Our government. You give it. Even if they won by 200,000 votes, you are still celebrating your government by only 200,000 after campaigning for 5 years with state resources, with hustlers alongside. You are still only manage a party 200,000. That means you are on an edge.
So what is the breeding ground for these ideas?
Yes.
What do you want? How do you want those ideas to be canvassed?
these ideas, I said the kind president needs to sober up. He needs to leave a legacy and say he's the person. In fact, the economy might collapse in your hands. But if you solve this political issue forever, you leave a legacy. You can even rest for the rest of the 10 years you want to serve there. Because you'll have solved something for the nation forever. People live, it's easy to get to State House. But so what? You were in State House, what did you leave? Legacy. People leave a legacy and say so and so. You will see Americans, every president refer to J.F. Kennedy when they are campaigning. All of candidates will say J.F. Kennedy, Roosevelt. They'll refer to people who have been part and parcel of the change system of the government.
So this president ought to?
He ought to solve a political problem of this country. Okay. And he can go home and rest. He leave the economic issue, we'll sort it ourselves.
Mheshimiwa, thank you for joining us. Caleb Amisi is the Member of Parliament for Saboti constituency. He's been here telling us about his thoughts and ideas of the best way forward as he heads down to Machakos for the meeting. Keep it here for more conversations. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Good morning, this is News. I am Dennis Asset. Former Christ is the Answer Ministry presiding Bishop David Akinde is calling for legal timelines when dealing with high-level corruption cases to ensure expeditious mechanisms of executing mega graft scandals. The nominee for appointment as Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission chairperson pointed out that mega corruption scandals have remained unearthed even after raiding the public coffers. The former clergyman also urged the lawmakers to support the anti-graft body through laws and regulations that ensure it has investigative and prosecutorial powers to the extent it prosecutes corruption cases.
I borrow from a place like Singapore. They have a one-stop shop anti-corruption commission. If they have investigative, they have prosecutorial powers. And so whatever they are able to do, when they take it to court, it is a one-stop shop. So it's not handing over to different people. I see only two possibilities. Either that in the first place, those who are false allegations, or in this second place, it is a false allegation. So whether the people who brought them first in were weaponizing corruption or fight against corruption, or the people who are releasing them have also done the same.
President William Ruto is in Kwale County, where he is expected to launch Mwachadam. The project, which has been implemented by the national government, is in Kinango constituency. Later, the president will head to Nyandarua County, where he will launch several projects in Kinangop constituency before Olkalau in Nakuru County, where he will launch the Olkalau potato factory. President Ruto will also be in Joro in Nakuru County. We continue to follow up on this developing story. We'll be bringing you the very latest. Now, Court of Appeal Judge Wanjiru Karanji is among 14 candidates who will be battling for the position of 6 judges at the International Criminal Court. The Assembly of States Parties will elect 6 judges of the International Criminal Court at its 22nd session from the 4th to the 14th of December 2023. Lady Justice Karanja has been nominated for List A, which includes candidates with established competence in criminal law and procedures, as well as the necessary experience in criminal law. The 63-year-old judge was competitively elevated to the Court of Appeal in December 2011, where she continued handling appeals in criminal and civil matters, both from the subordinate courts and the High Court. And the Motorist Association of Kenya has attributed the rising cases of fatal accidents along sections of the Nairobi-Nakuru highway to the design of the road and careless driving. The association pointed to unplanned speed bumps along the highway for the fatal accidents that have in the last month claimed over 30 lives. This came as the association announced a major road safety campaign along the highway, targeting learning institutions and motorists. Last week, 18 people, including students and staff from Pwani University died in Naivasha in an accident involving their bus and a Nissan Matatu. According to the association's national team leader Peter Murima, the number of fatal accidents on the highway were on the rise since the year began. Still on matters transport, and the Nairobi County government has rolled out brand new vehicles for enforcement officers, replacing the old clunky, dilapidated vehicles. According to City Hall, the new vehicles will be used to patrol and arrest those who break the law. The city enforcement officers have long been affiliated with the ugly, poorly designed and uncomfortable cars. The old-fashioned design cars have white faded paint with the logo quite visible. The windows are guarded with old and rusted wire. Father Sakaja launched mechanized street sweeper trucks. In Samburu County, and at least 2 persons have been killed and 2 others severely injured in a banditry attack in Samburu West constituency. Now, livestock was stolen in the attack that happened at night amid a military operation in the North Rift. Residents of Lomolog and Kusoro villages in Samburu West are living in fear after bandits struck, killing at least 2 persons and injuring another 2. Families of the victims trying to come to terms with the loss of their loved ones. In the neighboring Elgeyo Marakwet County, at least 3 people are receiving treatment at Iten Referral Hospital after they were shot by bandits while herding cattle in Aror Ward. The communities in Aror Ward are now planning to hold demonstrations to demand enhanced security in the area. And Commander Section 6 Brigadier Luka Kuto earlier this week visited the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia. ATMIS troops deployed at Old Airport FOB in Kismayo to assess the security situation and to encourage the troops in ensuring the ATMIS mandate is achieved. During his visit, Section 6 Commander was welcomed by Officer Commanding Major Maurice Afande, who later briefed him on the security situation at the Old Airport. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
All right, traffic still continues in certain parts of the city. We're looking at it still coming heavy off of the thicker superhighway. Not too bad though. It's moving, even though it is bumper to bumper and slow in some parts. It's moving, so that's a good thing. Muranga Road as well take off some of that as you get into the CBD. But Limuru Road is starting to ease off for some traffic. Coming out of Western's also looking much better. All right, let's look on this other side. Mombasa Road has been good from morning, taking out towards Uhuru Highway. We're still seeing some traffic on Landis. Actually, not some. It's heavy. It's bumper to bumper all the way to Kamkunji, and Jogo Road also continues to be busy coming off of Outer Ring, which started off really early this morning as well. Okay, out of traffic hour in a short while. Let's see what happens at the tail end of it. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Seven minutes after 9. Good morning. This is the final hour of the Situation Room this Thursday. Well, our week is not a short week. We'll be back here tomorrow morning. Easter, Good Friday, and we'll be having conversations as we continue. Now we want to switch our conversations a little bit. We want to talk about the importance of lubrication for all moving parts. Whether it's in the body, the joints need, lubricants. Whether it's machinery, they all need someone. In the moving in the city. It's important. Now, when you have all this machinery, whether you're thinking about a baiskeli, into motorbike, even mkokoteni, vehicles, tractors, aeroplanes, ships, all of them need to have moving parts lubricated. And this is where lubricants come in. Now, what is it about the quality of lubricants? Do we actually understand? Sometimes you see those things written, I don't know, WD.
40. I don't know why it's not 50 or 60, it's just 40.
Specifically 40.
And it has remained 40.
They tell you this one is synthetic, this one is not.
Synthetic, and then now they've confused you completely.
Totally. And they tell you, use this one is better for your engine.
Yes.
This one is not good for your engine. What do you mean?
Okay, so
what do you mean?
You actually want to ask them, the engine has told you this. Say yes. Yes.
And then when you say lubricants, what exactly do we mean? Do we mean engine oil? Do we mean brake fluid? Do we mean grease? Do we mean all of them?
All of them together.
Together. Yeah. We have an expert who's joining us for this conversation. His name is Mohammed Baraka. Mohammed is the chairman of the Lubricant Task Force at the Petroleum Institute of East Africa. He has been in the oil industry for many years. He joined the industry in 1975, working as a chemist at the Caltex labs. In 1978, he went to the technical service marketing, has been in many positions, including a product engineer, marketing manager, general manager, a country manager for Caltex Tanzania. He's basically been around. Mohammed, karibu sana.
Asante.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. That's the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Yes.
Make yourself comfortable.
Yes.
It is not well lubricated. You may hear a bit of squeaking here and there. Don't judge us too harshly.
It's an opportunity for me.
I'm sure you hear all these sounds all the time. Like,
there is.
You need grease. You need WD, whatever.
Yeah.
But to welcome you to the show, C.T. Muga has the proverb.
Yeah. Yes. Our proverbs for the whole of this week, our week ending tomorrow, are from the Republic of Congo Brazzaville. A pretty basket does not prevent worries.
A pretty basket does not prevent worries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Mohammed, what do you think the Congo Brazzaville people were talking about?
It's very difficult to comprehend. Perhaps it depends on what the basket does in the society. But I believe if it's pretty, it must be carrying good things. Mm-hmm. So it shouldn't be presenting worries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But now in the proverb, they say, a pretty basket does not do what, City?
Does not prevent worries.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you have a pretty basket, doesn't mean you're not going to worry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you have a different perspective now?
Perhaps as we say in Kiswahili or in Kenya, is that to be wealthy or to be with a lot of material does not give you happiness or does not stop you worrying about things.
Money does not take away worries. Money does not guarantee happiness or health.
Yeah.
Okay, a good one. Now, teach us about lubricants. Like I said, we hear lubricants, there are too many things. What are lubricants?
Yeah. Lubricants are fluids generally which reduce friction between moving parts. And as we say, however finely a surface is polished, it has ridges and valleys. And when you want to move them over each other, they will interlock into each other and they can't move, and that is what is called friction. So you need to introduce a fluid in between that separates the moving parts so that they can move easily. So that is what a lubricant basically is. So you have lubricants for various applications. You have lubricants for engines, you have lubricants for transmissions, you have lubricants for differentials, you have lubricants for wheel bearings, you have lubricants for power steering. There are very many, and of course, nearly every industry or every operation needs a lubricant. Yeah.
Are all lubricants oil-based or petroleum-based?
More than 90% of the lubricants are petroleum-based. There are a few which are based on synthetic material. There are some which are also based on solid materials like graphite or molybdenum disulfide.
molybdenum, disulfide. Maskio yondo.
Disulfide.
Disulfide. Yeah. So in this country, we of course have very many machines that then require lubricants.
Yes.
We have very many brands in the market that require lubricants.
Yes.
The question is, are there lubricants that are manufactured in country?
Yes. There are a lot of lubricants. I think about 80% of the lubricants, 70 to 80% of the lubricants we use in Kenya are locally manufactured.
And what does manufacture mean?
Manufacture means that you have the material that actually is the bulk of the lubricant. It's called a base oil. And this is obtained from fractional the distillation, vacuum distillation of crude oil. So you get material which you call base oil. That material is heavy. It presents the thickness of the oil you want, but its service is reduced because of its inability to withstand various conditions under the operation. So you add in additives, you blend them, you mix them with the additives in predetermined proportions to give you the lubricant you want. So you have what you call the additives and the base oils. So the base oils are the base, and the additives are the chemicals that enhance the performance of the base oil.
So it's just like assembly. It's like a motor vehicle assembly plant in Kenya. All the parts come, you're just putting them together.
Exactly, yes.
So even when we say that we have lubricants that are locally manufactured, that's exactly the same thing we're saying.
Yes.
That all the parts come,
Yeah.
all we are just doing is mixing them here.
Yes.
Okay. Do they attract tax?
Yeah, the raw materials for mixing attract a tax level of about 10% on the base oil and 10% on the additives. There are other taxes that, of course, go with it, like railway development levy, IDF fees, and so on. So they have that level of 10% duty. But when you come to finished lubricants, the duty rate ranges between 25 and 35%.
Why is it important to have? Why are they important to use?
Yeah, lubricants. The lubricants is an essential part of our life because we move, we have machines, and they move, and they need to be lubricated and preserved. So that's why they are important for our life. Because without those machines, our life will be very different.
Yeah.
Perhaps we were in Stone Age, we wouldn't need them much.
Indeed.
Yeah.
In terms of what's in use in the market, do we find that the majority of them, I mean, talks about, mixing here, but do we find that the parts that make up this one product that you will use for whatever parts of a machine, and, I guess sometimes the assumption is that it's just for vehicles, motor vehicles, but there are other machines that use them as well.
Yes.
But do we find that for the most part, most of these are coming from outside of the country? Is Kenya, for example, importing the majority of these products that are used here?
Yeah, well, the raw material we import, but we also import finished lubricants. And it's not necessarily that we can't make them locally. We make exactly the same. We have also multinational companies here who make to the same standards that they would make in Europe, in Asia, and so on. So we actually make lubricants as good quality as anywhere else in the world.
What's the consumption percentage, though? What are you consuming in terms of what is made by a multinational or brought from outside compared to what is then mixed here, as it were?
Well, I think what is mixed here would account for about between 70 and 80%, and 20 to 30% would be imported.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're actually not doing so badly.
Well, if you look at it back, there was a time we were actually producing almost 100% of our own requirement here. But with the liberalization, we have slid to a level where we are getting in a lot of imported lubricants.
So the local players are losing market share?
The local players are losing market share. Local players are also losing some of their brand values because some of the lubricants that are imported are of low quality, and sometimes they are used for counterfeiting. So that is another danger of those lubricants.
Okay.
And as I said, the local lubricants attract a duty of about 10%, imported at 35%. But you will find a lot of the imported lubricants that are in the market, they sell at about the same price or below local lubricants, which is an indication that those lubricants have come in without the taxman getting his share on them.
Okay. So then, as it is, the majority of those which are purchased and used in the country are actually local industry products.
They are local industry products.
But there's a problem.
Yes.
What's the problem?
The problem is, first, we need to produce more locally to create employment. When you import lubricants, say from Dubai or India, you send the job to those areas. The second thing is that it creates, of course, not only in the manufacture itself, but the supply chain, the packaging manufacturer, the labor manufacturer, the transport, they all benefit from local manufacture. And as I said, generally, for the credible manufacturers, the quality of the lubricants made here are perhaps better quality than imported lubricants. Yes.
Is there a case, then, for looking at what could happen in the local industry if we're saying that 70% of what is consumed as a product in Kenya is actually locally produced? Is there a case for getting to the point whereby everything that is used in Kenya, for example, is locally produced, and then looking at a situation whereby a surplus of that production then is used in terms of exports, whether it starts at a regional level and then goes to a continental level and such? Is there a case to be made for that?
There is a big case to be made for it because, well, perhaps if I go back to the history, when I joined the industry, we used to export 70% of our local production. And we used to export to as far north as Hodeidah in Yemen. We used to export as far down to Zambia, Congo, Ethiopia, and so on. So it was a big industry and created a big employment. It also creates value because when you export, you create value, you get a profit which it comes in, you create the dollars we actually desperately need now. So there is a big case for us to do it because, look, we have unemployment in this country. If some of the restrictions or the impediments that are on the lubricants are removed today, we instantly would create almost 2,000 jobs for our youth. Because we have a lot of manufacturing plants which are operating below 50% capacity, and that is only during the day. So they can actually operate 24 hours if there was demand. Now, the other thing is that the lubricants are actually bulk commodities. So if you have a lot of export, a lot of production here, you can reduce your freight on the raw materials that you bring in, and that will lower the cost, not only for the people here, but also for the export market.
So why is it that this already existent local manufacturers who have the capacity to produce more and meet the entire market need in Kenya and still export, why are they operating at below capacity?
Well, because their production costs here are very high. As I said, that the economies of their scale is low.
The production cost is high. And the elements in the production cost minus the duties, what else?
It's mainly the production cost that is relatively higher to other major manufacturing destinations. I mean, our electricity cost is high, which makes our packages cost high. Our quantity of manufacture is small. For many years, we have not modernized these plants because they don't have the capacity. You can actually modernize and automate some of the operations in the plant, therefore increasing their production further. So those have not been addressed because of the lack of the volume that you need.
I want to ask this question out of ignorance. When you say production costs, break it down. What do you mean?
Well, as production costs, what goes into the product, I say you have the additives. You have the base oils, you have the plastic packages, you have the labor, and you have the labels. So all of they go in to make the finished product. So for the base oil, it comes in most cases in bulk tankship, and it makes a difference if you're bringing in 10,000 tons of bulk, then when you are bringing in, say, 30,000 tons, the freight cost goes down. Even the supplier also gives you a better discount on a higher volume. So overall, that cost will come down. Now, if you're using a lot of additives, a lot of the additives you bring in today are brought in drums. You can actually bring them in bulk if you have the demand. You can bring it in bulk in a tank ship, or you can bring it in bulk in bigger containers. Again, that will reduce the cost of production. Now, coming to the plastic manufacturer, the packaging manufacturers, they also depend on volume because the operation is energy intensive. And of course, when you hit the mold, you want to produce thousands of them in order to spread the cost of heating over a larger quantity. We do very small batches, which makes them more expensive. And that goes for everything else.
What would you like to see to improve the situation?
Well,
as the PIEA task force on lubricants,
one of the things that we have been agitating that we should actually remove the duty, 10% duty that is imposed on the raw materials, because if that can reduce our cost by 10%, when it will reduce the amount of smuggling that is going on, because there will not be an incentive to smuggle, because the production cost here would be the same as the production cost in Dubai, so nobody will see the incentive for it. It will lower the cost for use of lubricants, and a lot of people prefer to buy lower quality lubricants because they are cheaper, and higher quality products become more expensive because the duties are percentage over the cost of the product. So the higher the quality, the higher the taxes on it, and therefore the higher the price of the finished product. And of course, low quality oils are a big disaster in this country. They're destroying equipment, they're destroying life, they're destroying environment.
Number two. So that is the main thing. Remove the 10% duty on raw.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And it would be at par.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. It is cheaper to import from Egypt because Egypt don't charge duty on their raw material. Kenyan manufacturers charge duty. So you can actually bring duty, and when you bring it from Egypt, it's under COMESA, so it doesn't attract duty. So an importer from Egypt brings in the product without paying any taxes. And local manufacturer pays 10% taxes. That disadvantages.
What was the wisdom of having the finished product coming duty-free?
Finished product doesn't come duty-free.
Okay. It's a COMESA region.
Yeah, it's a COMESA region. Yeah, so under COMESA,
so they're getting the preferential treatment because this is coming from Egypt, which is under COMESA. It gets into the market.
Yeah, and fair trade rules, trade requires that if Egyptians can import into Kenya, we should be able also to export to Egypt. Now, we are disadvantaged already. An Egyptian can export into Kenya. Kenyan cannot export to Egypt.
Because of our production costs.
Yeah.
So then there's another case then, because what we're talking about now is regional trade and business then being hampered.
Yes.
For Kenya's benefit.
Yes.
Because of the fact that input costs are so high.
Yeah.
Raw material costs are so high.
Yeah.
What conversations are being had? Because I know there are conversations that are being had.
Yes.
Because essentially, the cost of raw material is then a barrier to then the participation of Kenya in regional trade. Yes. Nobody will trade with you because the cost of the finished product is too high.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the only thing that precludes you from joining into this big boys club of regional trade.
Yeah.
So what conversations are being had to essentially lower this across board? It's the same conversation that's being had in the agricultural circles. We cannot take your this, that, or the other thing because it's too expensive.
Yes, yes.
So why not, if the path to get into the club is to have lowered the cost of raw material, why not lower the cost?
Well, we made presentations to the government on the issue of lowering the taxes, and I think the local, our own ministry is convinced that we actually need to reduce the duties, but we've got to get similar presentations from Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, who are also making lubricants, to put in that request so that it can be done as a regional initiative. Because if it's done on Kenyan basis only, then you have a problem, because then you are bringing in the products outside the agreed East Africa Community tariffs, and therefore that product will be treated as being coming from a foreign country. I'll give you an example. This year, the government gave duty waiver to people who want to manufacture product and export. But when that duty waiver, our members of the East African Community learned about it, they imposed 35% duty on our finished product. So it actually worked against us.
So the 10% is actually not even a Kenyan issue.
No, it's an East Africa Community
It's an East Africa Community common external tariff.
Yeah.
So this needs to be lobbied at East Africa level.
Yes.
Have you done that? Have you gone to the
We've
East
done
Africa
it,
Legislative
and I think
Assembly?
this time we have also done it, and we got a consensus from both our counterparts in Tanzania and Uganda, and of course Rwanda, who feel the same thing, that we need to up the local production, who are making similar presentations, and we hope this time around it will be done on a regional basis.
Well, but let's take a break.
Yes.
When we come back, we'll continue on this, and I think it would be good for you to paint a picture of the impact of the local manufacturers in the economy, in terms of everything. You started from employment, into the injection into the economy, into the safeguarding the safety of the machines and everything that you're... Maybe we need to start looking at it from why should we protect these people when you can get something cheaper coming from Egypt? Why should we really bother about these Kenyans? You'll give us that impact. It's 9:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Mohammed Baraka is the chairman of the Lubricant Task Force at the Petroleum Institute of East Africa. He's here to talk about the importance of lubricants and the importance of protecting the local lubricant manufacturing industry. What needs to be done for that? Ndu, Showmax has a new show.
A new show called The Second Family. Leo Langat, wealthy businessman. Everything is going well, or so he thought, until he had an accident and he died. And then everybody jumped out of the woodwork and said, there was this here, there was money, there was wealth, and people started fighting against each other. The second family, or the real family, then emerges from the ashes. Sounds interesting, doesn't it?
It does. Yes. I think it's among the first times that I'm hearing a series that carries a name other than those normal names of Daudi,
and Maua,
Mwana Hamadi, Langat.
And Leo Langat.
Leo Langat. Okay, that's a must watch.
It's a must watch on
We'll be
Showmax.
back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I'm sure you're wondering how you can spend less and get more as we approach the Easter period. Well, the Standard Digital e-paper has a solution for you, and it's the half-price Easter special. For all news and entertainment buffs who look for a credible source of information and content they love, well, this one's for you. We're offering you a chance to pay half for the full story and all the extras. Instead of 6,199 Kenya shillings, pay 3,099 Kenya shillings and stay on top of what is happening across the globe. At your own convenience, for less. This incredible offer is valid till 30th April 2023. Subscribe now. Visit epaper.standardmedia.co.ke and enjoy the half-price Easter special. Get the full story all year long. Only with Standard Digital e-paper. Standard Digital e-paper. Tap up, just how you like it.
Blood is not always thicker than water.
Start your life here. It's not enough for me. It's just not enough. You don't know what they do to girls like you. I think it's a very unfair.
Two families are at war and family ties get broken.
Sorry, who is your father?
Discover the shocking truth in Second Family.
I had another family. Another wife.
Tune in to Sugar and
at 16 and looking at sunny at 18 in Nakuru, mostly cloudy at 18 in Nyeri, and 18 and mostly sunny in Eldoret. It's 28 and we'll see partly sunny conditions through Mombasa, and at 29 Malindi is sunny going to highs of 32. It's sunny at 22 in Kisumu and partly sunny at 21 in Kakamega. 21 and partly sunny conditions in Kampala, and we'll see partly sunny conditions through Dar es Salaam at 26. 14 and sunny in Johannesburg going to highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 33 in a sunny Lagos at 27. 23 and partly sunny in Kinshasa going to highs of 33, and looking out into Beijing, it is 17 and sunny, highs of 18. 9 degrees and rain showers in Paris going to highs of 14, and we'll see highs of 13 in a cloudy London at 10. It's mostly cloudy at 11 in New York still Wednesday night. Coming into Thursday, we'll see highs of 24 and lows of 11.
Spice up your life.
All right, it's dwindling in most parts of the city this morning, and also looking at going out of the city, not too much in terms of traffic. East or west, we're seeing Jogo Road will still have some traffic for some time, but Landis Road is an absolute mess. That's crawling very slowly into the city, into the CBD is where most of the action is happening now, and it's much better off of the thicker super highway. It's busy on Limuru Road coming in from Muthaiga, and so we'll keep an eye on that through the morning. Where might you be stuck today? Let us know. Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Business News with Spice FM.
I'm Dennis Alseto. The National Hospital Insurance Fund has begun processing the hiring of a new chief executive officer as the former CEO's term is set to end next week. The national insurer stated in a local newspaper advertisement that the new executive will be hired on a 3-year contract with the possibility of an extension. A Lagos Songa constituency member of parliament, Samuel Atandi, intends to introduce a bill on the amendment of excise duty on imported fish at the rate of 20% of the customs value. Atandi said the excise duty will protect the local fish industry from the cheap China fish imports by ensuring they remain employed and the vertical equity of the tax system improves. A Japanese audit watchdog has slapped heavy sanctions on accounting firm EY, which has come under scrutiny for failing to spot large-scale fraud at collapsed payments firm Wirecard. The German branch of EY is banned for 2 years from taking on new auditing assignments for entities of public interest, including listed companies. SBM Bank is looking for a senior relationship officer with a bachelor's degree in finance, accounting, marketing or economics with at least 5 years of experience in banking. Suitable candidates are required to send their CVs and cover letter by 7th of April 2023. Visit jobs.digger.co.ke for more information on these and other jobs. Digger Jobs, your credible and trusted jobs partner.
Spice FM Business.
We continue the conversation, 22 minutes to 10. Mohammed Baraka is the chairman of the Lubricant Task Force at the Petroleum Institute of East Africa. This is, of course, the lobby of the petroleum companies, from oil marketing companies and others, like lubricant dealers who are in the country, looking at how best to advance the case and the cause of the industry. Today, we are talking about lubricants. We know that there are very many lubricants in the market, and Mohammed has even educated us, from engine oil to coolant to steering oil to grease to looking at the various, all other parts that need to be lubricated. Very many. Now, the thing is that there are local manufacturing companies that have been here for years. Initially, they almost had 100% market share. In fact, local manufacturers of lubricants were exporting as far as Yemen, as you've told us. Yes. But now, only 70% of what is consumed locally is actually done locally. There's more and more importation. And some of the big issues that you have is because of a 10% duty that's East Africa-wide tariff that's imposed by East African countries on raw materials coming to make the lubricants. Now it makes the other things happen. One, counterfeiting now happens. 2, tax evasion happens because people are bringing in raw material without paying duty, and then they produce their lubricant. They take it to the market. It's going to be cheaper. We have a taxation problem. And this is what the task force has been doing at PIA, lobbying to have government see the sense of waiving this 10% duty. What's the impact of the oil marketing companies, the lubricant manufacturers, to these economies of the East African community? Start with Kenya, for example.
Yes.
When you say, we are 70% of our production is consumed locally, this and the other, how many companies are we talking about? How many people do they employ? What kind of volumes are we talking about?
Well, the total volume would be something like 70 million liters, which is locally consumed per year. Mm-hmm. And of course, we export something between 20 and 30 million to the surrounding countries. So our local production is about 100 million. Mm-hmm. We could easily double that production. Mm-hmm. And it has a lot of advantages. As I mentioned, it gives us the economies of scale. Mm-hmm. And of course, it brings in value and creates employment. Mm-hmm. So that is one of the major benefits. The other benefit is that people have access to quality lubricants. So long as we get our quality standards right, we would be able to assure our people the quality of the lubricants they are using. That's the biggest problem we have in this country, that there is a lot of low-quality lubricants. A lot of them are counterfeited, and they are causing a lot of destruction to equipment. That lubricants are chemicals, and especially used lubricants. They potentially can cause cancer with the exposure to the skin and kidney and organ problems if they are dissolved in the body. So it is very important that we emphasize on not only the production of high-quality lubricants, but also the management of the waste that it generates. And that can also be very well managed if we had all the lubricants that are being used here, or most of them being locally produced. We can be able to enforce some standards of, say, used oil, waste oil management with the local manufacturers. Because if someone sends in lubricants from Dubai, his liability is ended. But if I make it locally and the government tells me that you must have a process of trying to recover the used oil so that you don't damage the environment, that I can do.
And they can track you.
They can track me, and they can tell me your license. If you don't do this, your license is
can be
revoked. Yeah.
How would you know, though, if you were dealing with a counterfeit product?
Yeah.
It seems that you would only get this information after the fact. If you've used it in your vehicle, for example, and something goes bonkers, that's when you would know that this thing could have had a problem. But there's no pre-trace or there's no test that you can do or check. Because if you're going to buy something for your car, you drive into the filling station, you're going to buy it and put it in your car. You're not really asking the attendant, how do I know if this is the real stuff or not?
Yeah, that's a very important point. It's very difficult to tell a fake lubricant from a proper lubricant. What I encourage people to normally do is, first of all, be sure that the supplier, they always know the people who are running the shops, people who actually deal with the genuine products. Secondly, you must check the seal of the package. Third, you can smell it. Fourth, because when you smell it, it rather smell diesel or some burnt smell of the used oil. And fourth, when you empty the package, you look at the bottom of the package. If it has a layer of black, then you know that this lubricant was made from recycled material.
Where?
Yeah, so those are some of the things that you can check on. And of course, what is worrying in this country, and this is what is actually causing a lot of accidents on our roads, is the brake fluid. First of all, a lot of the brake fluids are low quality, but what is very worrying is that people are packing water in packages of some of the leading brands and selling it as a brake fluid, and that actually is death.
Water.
Maji. You can take, for example, water's boiling point is less than 100 degrees, and brake fluid with meeting dot 4 should have a boiling point of 230 degrees. And the reason why you need a high boiling point is that when you apply emergency brakes, the brake fluid becomes very hot. And if the brake fluid is of low boiling point, it will evaporate and form a vapor lock. So when you slam on the brake and it forms a vapor lock, the vehicle goes free. And it's typical of the accidents you hear. Matatu was trying to overtake a lorry, and then the new vehicle coming from the other side crashed in it. So you wonder, why didn't the guy apply brakes? But the problem is that the guy is already dead. He can't tell you my brake failed because of vapor lock.
Yeah.
Now, when the police come and check the brakes, that vapor has collapsed because the brake has cooled.
So the brake is now working?
The brake is now working. So the police said the brake is right. Why didn't this guy just apply the brake? So it's very bad, because if you take, for example, water which is boiling at 100 degrees, you put in the brake, it wouldn't go very far to cause an accident. It can cause it very quickly.
When you say that they are selling water, is it that they are mixing water with the brake fluid, or they are actually just putting...
Well, you can actually put plain water. You can mix it with the brake fluid. Brake fluid is made from glycols, which are very miscible products with the water. So even if you mix it, you wouldn't. And that's the big problem, because if you took plain water and used it for top-up on your brake system, you wouldn't know that it was water, because it would just mix with the brake fluid. So you see it's all right. But later you'll see the brake malfunctioning.
Now, Mohammed.
Yeah.
You know, most of the decisions that are made on lubricants are not made by the motorist or the driver.
Yes.
They're made by the mechanic.
Yeah.
Because you take your car to the mechanic and then they tell you, so we added brake fluid, we added this coolant, we added this and the other, and sasa gari iko sawa.
Yeah.
So is it that the mechanics do not know how to check the quality, or the mechanics are just going for what's cheaper in the market?
A lot of mechanics know the quality, and even a lot of them also know that some of the brake fluid they are putting in is counterfeit. They can actually tell by opening, by smelling, and looking at the evaporation of the brake fluid. They can know that this is brake fluid or this is counterfeit water. But you see, there are incentives. If, for example, I was being told by one of the stockists that the brake fluid that they get made in Nairobi from the Juakali, using one of the popular brands, sells for 150 shillings. And the actual brand sells for 350. So there is a delta of 200 shillings that you're going to make by cheating.
By cheating.
So people do it because they want to make money. And it's very bad, because you actually selling deaths to your own customer. You always want your customer to come back.
Sure.
If you're going to kill him, he's not going to come back to buy.
Speaking of another avenue for death, and means horror stories that we hear, and then when you talk about the discarding of these lubricants when you've gone for an oil change, for example, and what happens? It is said that there are people who come and line up at some mechanic shops or whatever shops to get this old oil forever that it has been changed, and they use it for cooking because it fries fish in a way that nobody would ever understand, or it fries chips in an absolutely wonderful way. But this is a recipe for disaster, and it's being done today. People are consuming food that has been fried with changed oil from vehicles.
No, in particular, it's actually transformer oil. Transformer oil is light, like cooking oil, and it fries chips very well. So you look at it and say, nice and dry chips. But later you'll get stomach cancer from it. And that could explain why we have an explosion of cancers in this country. People are taking transformer oil, taking oil. The used oil they go and put it in a container, precipitate the black stuff in it, and filter it, and put it in packages and sell it back to you.
For what?
As an engine oil.
You use it back in your car?
Yeah, we call it recycled base oil.
And does that work? And is it acceptable?
It does not work. It can work because it was a lubricant in anyway. But there is a danger when the product itself does not meet any quality. It's the additives that were put in are already used up. So it doesn't have those additives then. The other thing is it's mixed with things like brake fluid, glycols, which when you heat up with the oil, it coagulates. So when you use that oil, after a very short time, the oil thickens and the engine can seize. It's okay if you knew the oil was used oil, then you can take that precaution. But suppose you took it in a package of a high quality oil, user who you have confidence that I go 10,000 kilometers with this oil, no problem. And this oil cannot go 2,000 kilometers. It has coagulated. It causes the engine to seize. It causes the engine to wear. Then, as I said, that they also have dangers of contact, because when you heat oil in the engine, it produces what you call polycyclic materials, which are carcinogenic. They can cause cancer. So even handling that product is dangerous. And that's why at the beginning I said we must emphasize on the quality of the use of the oils we use, so that we don't use oil frequently. A good quality oil will give you a very wide mileage. Therefore, you use less, you dump less in the soil, and you, of course, save the environment. But these recycled oils, you use them so frequently. So that is the danger that we have. And
but doesn't it seem...
we need to have a proper management of the used oil we produce. Essentially, importation of recycled base oils, and it's become a common thing.
You mean we actually import recycled base oils?
Yeah, we import recycled base oil.
Why?
Well, that's what I keep... we've been arguing of...
counterfeiting.
We have already made a standard for Kenya Bureau of Standards to try to stop this importation of recycled base oil, but it still comes in. And it's very bad because you're basically importing used oil, trying to help someone to clean his environment, and coming and dumping it in your environment and putting at risk your own people. So this is a thing that we have all lobbied. We are trying to lobby NEMA to address. KEPS has addressed it, has come up with a standard.
Is it packaged as used oil, or is it packaged in this?
As in,
it comes in as the normal base oil, but most of the importers will say recycled base oil. And of course, you can't depend on KEPS to check everything.
Actually,
so it is required, and it is part of what the international community agreed. It could classify these materials as hazardous, and they say it's under the Basel Convention.
Okay, can I ask a question? From these countries where this recycled base oil is coming from, would they use use it.
They don't use it because this, basically, if you look at the recovery,
this is dumping.
Your recovery of the used oil is only about 15%. So if the product was very good, it can be used at its source, isn't it?
Yes.
So why are they exporting it? Because they are bringing it, they are taking it out of their clean environment, deserts, and bringing it into
They're dumping
our
it
environment.
into these other markets.
Yeah. And of course, with our greed for profit, the recycled base oil is about half the price of virgin base oil. So that is the center, and that's the beginning of counterfeiting, because if that product was not available, basically the base oil cost for everybody is about the same. So there would be no incentive for counterfeiting. And it is very important we address, and that's why I said we must have proper rules to manage not only the recycled oils, and we must also make rules to make sure that we do not import products that are going to harm our environment and harm our people. That is a responsibility of our government, any government, that you must always protect your people.
We have several institutions, Mohammed, that should take care of the consumer.
Yes.
Start at the Kenya Bureau.
Yeah.
Right? At the point of importation.
Yes.
Whether they are doing the pre-export verification or verification at point of entry.
Yeah.
And then in the market, we have the regulator.
Yeah.
IPRA.
Yeah.
Which should also now be doing the spot checks and checking that what is in the market is what is right. You have lobbies of the right industry players, such as the Petroleum Institute of East Africa. And yet we're seeing all these things happening. Where are the loopholes?
The loopholes, well, first of all, the lubricant industry is not regulated, and we've been...
Please repeat that again.
It's not regulated.
The lubricant industry is
so it's not under IPRA.
It's not under IPRA. There are regulations that were made that need to be approved so that the IPRA can take responsibility for regulating. And this is what we have been lobbying for the last 10 years. That's why I told you the task force has been in for 10 years. We have not got an answer to it. Because without that regulation, that is where we are having this...
so there's no body to actually go to the market and say
don't do this or don't do the other.
And if I went and brought in products that is bad and people you knew it's
there's
bad,
nobody to
I'll
stop
change
you.
my name.
Yeah.
I don't call myself Mohammed Baraka, I call myself Isa. So,
really. I mean, something that clearly is hazardous. Clearly, you don't need to be have a great deal of knowledge on this subject.
Yeah,
for it to have been proliferated for this long.
Yeah,
clearly there are people who have ensured or who work day and night to ensure that partly that legislation or whatever it is that you want to put in place to regulate it does not happen.
Yeah,
because 10 years down the line and nothing has happened.
Well, we formed we as members of the technical committee of Kenya Bureau of Standards came up with a standard for base oils to be imported, and if you actually test the base oil very well, you will not allow these base oils to come in. But there are a lot of base oils under various pretexts. Oh, I'm going to manufacture for export. It doesn't have to be tested and so on. They have all those excuses they use and they bring in the recycled base oil. So it is not only KEBS. We need KEBS to enforce that rule. We need NEMA to make it illegal to import recycled product. If you bring in recycled product, you should actually go to jail. And that is in line with the Basel Convention that prohibits transboundary movement of hazardous material. We need KRA. If they see someone with an IDF saying that they want to bring in recycled base oil, they tell them, sorry, this is not accepted. So everything has got to be done by everybody. And people should also try to be careful to shun products made from recycled base oils and so on. So there is everybody. You can't have only one organization to take care of it. We need EPRA to come up and regulate the lubricants industry and tell the people who they are licensing very clearly, in Kenya, we don't want to use recycled base oil. And that is very important because when we are talking about even export, you want to make quality products. That's what you can export. If you are making rubbish here and trying to export, you are also spoiling the name of Kenya.
Isn't it?
Yeah. So it's a very serious problem.
It's possible to say then that those who may be silently or overtly fighting the management and regulation of this industry, because they could be the same ones who are benefiting from bringing in these counterfeit, recycled, etc., etc.?
I don't doubt it. Of course, for my fight against them, they don't like me much. But the point is, they make money out of it.
Yeah.
Good money. In Kenya, we love money. I know everybody loves money, but Kenya, we love money for whatever, how it comes. So we bring in, knowing very well, and can you imagine, you bring in recycled base soil, you make product, which you know that people might not buy the finished product.
Yeah.
You go and take the brand of the multinational, you take its package, fill in that material, and pass it out as a brand of this multinational.
Aye.
And that goes to damage the engine.
Aye.
Now, of course, you go back to the brand owner and say, your oil has damaged the engine. He say, give me a sample. He checks it's not his oil. So you are left there, you as the user.
Yeah.
The reputation of that brand owner is also being eroded because people are saying, you can't trust oil from Synergy, you can't trust oil from these guys because sometimes it's recycled. So I have that problem even in the market, trying to teach people the
importance
of using
the right oil.
Yes.
You make oils yourself, lubricants yourself.
Yeah, we make toll blending arrangement. So a lot of people are under toll blending arrangement, and of course we are satisfied. We co-load with them the material we bring in. They have sophisticated laboratories to make sure that the products that we make are to the international standards. We make oil to international standards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mohammed, thank you very much for joining us today. I think it was a very good introduction to a conversation that you should come back and we keep having.
My
in
pleasure.
terms of even lobbying to have regulations in place, lobbying to have the taxes discussed and waived and removed, and most importantly, consumer awareness.